Good afternoon and welcome to a very sunny Harvey Haddon Stadium once again here in Bilborough in Nottingham, where we're here for the latest encounter of the Nottingham Caesars 2018 season. This afternoon they welcome the Sandwell Steelers to Harvey Haddon Stadium, in which will be a rematch of a fantastically competitive battle last year. Now, so far in the division, the Caesars are currently 2-3. Having lost last week quite decisively, actually, to the Leicester Falcons after coming off the back of 2 victories against the Coventry Jets. In comparison, the Sandwell Steelers are flying high currently in the Division 1 South. They currently sit 4-1, with their only defeat coming to those Leicester Falcons, but they currently sit second in the division. It's going to be a great afternoon of football. We've got a good full roster from both teams here. The sun's shining, the air temperature is really lovely for football, and fresh off the back of our encounter out in Tamworth yesterday, where we were covering the Tamworth Phoenix against the Oslo Vikings, we'll give you a little bit of highlights of that shortly. We welcome the Sandwell Steelers for this afternoon's game. As ever, we managed to catch up with both head coaches before the game, and we managed to catch Vanden Warner, coach of the Nottingham Caesars, for his thoughts not only on today's game but on the season so far.
Day for football.
Bit of a shock last week. Caesars seemed to come out flat and took a bit of a shellacking at the hands to the Falcons. Can you put your finger on anything why, right from the outset, things did seem flat?
Not really. It was just poor execution, I think. We didn't execute the plays as well as we could have done. We didn't try and do anything that was overly complicated. We just didn't execute.
Roster this week, decent week in training. You expect to have sort of a full roster out there at your disposal?
Yeah, we should have pretty much the full roster back. We had a good session midweek, so yeah, all looking good today.
You've now fallen below 500 on the season with that 2-3 record. I think the players were more than understandably buoyed by those 2 back-to-back wins against the Jets. How have you tried to pick up the lads after that latest Falcons defeat?
We've just got to put it behind us. Just write it off as a bad day at the office and move forward.
I know your time's precious. I know you're not overly a fan of these, so well, thank you for your time now and wish you all the best for the afternoon's game. Take care. Cheers, Vandy. So, Coach Warner, never one really for the limelight in front of the camera, but it's always good to catch up with him and find his views. Again, just got to try and execute today the Caesars after that disappointment last week, particularly in a low light, if you like, for the Caesars with the conversion of 3rd and 50 for a touchdown by those Falcons and that explosive offense last week. Today's visitors, the Sandwell Steelers, they've a 3-1 record. I rather said 4-1 earlier on, but they're a 3-1 record currently. And in those 4 games, they've managed to score 122 points, 50 last week plus against the Coventry Jets, and they have an explosive offense of their own. Head coach Max Pettigrew, we've caught up with once again at the beginning of this afternoon's proceedings, and he enlightened us a little bit about what the Sandwell. Good afternoon, Coach. Thanks for taking the time with us.
Hi, good to be here.
Welcome to Nottingham. Always sunny in Nottingham for some reason, not sure why. The Steelers' season so far, then, currently you look like you're flying. That 1 loss against the Falcons. Sum up so far how the season's been for the Steelers.
Difficult start, but obviously, we wanted to play the best teams possible, and that's why we love playing the Falcons. We're hoping to play them again later in the year. I wasn't actually there for that game, unfortunately, so I still haven't had to feel that loss yet as Steelers head coach. But it was a tough start. We've come back really well since. Tough game against Shropshire, but a couple of games now we haven't given up any points. Offense is looking better every day. Pretty good year so far.
Bit of an eye-opener last week. Obviously, we keep a track of the scores while we're doing commentary, and Coventry, with all due respect to them, I think opened the scoring on you. And I think at that point, early doors, there was like, wow, what's going on here? But then obviously you managed to get those 50 points up on them. Was that sort of a kick-start you needed in that game?
It wasn't the kickstart we needed. It was tough, to be honest. But 4th play of the game, our second-string quarterback who was starting, because our first-string Tristan Varney was away, he threw a pick 6. Good play by the defence. Bad throw given, but it's always hard to just rally the guys then. We knew we had enough to win, but just trying to keep people calm. So the very next play, rather than us backing down, the same quarterback put him back on the field through a great pass, and I think immediately tensions were settled. So we dealt with it very well, and defence played great. Obviously put a lot of points, so it ended up being 50 plus, I think, yeah.
So you're basically talking about your units there. Are the Steelers built around a sort of defence first who set the tone and offence carry the D, or is it more balanced?
To start the season, without us wanting to, the defence was carrying the air a little bit, but the last couple of games, the offense is flying. Even without our first string quarterback last week, put up over 50 points. They're really looking good now, and that's just the way it is in British football. You don't get the longest preseason time, so in terms of the way offense works, it's much more about rhythm and stuff. So now they're really in it and they're looking great. So not one or the other. I think we deprioritised special teams at the start of the year, which wasn't good on my part, and now we're just getting that back, and that really needs to be our focus going forward as well.
So I don't know whether this has been spoken about, but this time last year the Steelers came here to Nottingham and heavy favourites at the time, and it was a fantastically backwards and forward game that the Caesars actually run out as surprise victors. I know different sort of setup coaching-wise and different team out there. Has that been mentioned at all this week?
I wasn't around last year. I wasn't here. So from my perspective, I didn't really know the history of it, but the players were pretty disappointed in the way they played last year. I've watched the film. I don't actually think it was that they were beaten by a better team on the day, but we're a very, very different team. The scheme defensively, offensively is so different. The players, we've got loads and loads of rookie players out there, or guys that have changed positions. So from our perspective, there's no real crossover from that game to this. From watching the Caesars, looks like there's a lot of crossover there, a lot of good players still coming back. So we know what we've got to worry about. But it's just trying to really minimise the talents there. Yeah.
You mentioned Tristan Varney there, and he's sort of well known around the Brit ball community. Are there any other players, Stephanie, that we should be looking out for on any unit that may make an impact for the Steelers?
We've got loads of good players, but Ross Barrow is one, former head coach of Steelers. I think he was head coach last season, actually. We've actually got two players who are former head coaches, which is funny for me, so I've got a lot of good people to talk to. But he has just moved from offensive line to running back after he's got a lot healthier, put on some weight. He looks great, and he's playing brilliant at the minute. Won't be getting every snap at running back, but certainly a devastating player. So Ross Barrow, definitely one to look out for. Other than that, a lot of other good ones, but we'll leave it at that. That's fine.
Well, I know how valuable your time is pre-game, Coach, so thank you ever so much for joining us. Wish you all the best for the game. And all being well, if it goes well for you, we may well catch up after the game for a post-game interview. All right. Thanks for your time. Cheers. Thanks. So always a pleasure to welcome in both head coaches. And to the pre-game show, I'd like to welcome my old colleague, George Lees.
Old colleague.
Well,
wow.
Old colleague. Well, old
Wow.
colleague. Yeah, old purely due to the fact that we've worked a lot together. Obviously, yesterday you were unable to be with us at the Tamworth game, so it's nice to have you back.
Yes, I was at a farming event.
Oh, whatever you do in your own time is your own business. That's completely up to you. Before we focus on today's action for the seniors, you may or may not know, we mentioned in commentary before, George is the current head coach of the Nottingham Caesars Juniors, and they had a fixture this morning at 11:30 kick-off here in Harvey Haddon against the Merseyside Nighthawks. Now, took a 14-0 lead, and then, unfortunately, things went a little bit downhill from there, Coach.
They came out 28-14 on top. We've got a lot of rookies this year, and it really showed when it mattered, making little rookie errors here and not knowing quite who was on special teams and this, that and other. And injuries as well takes its toll, but it is what it is. Both teams have injuries during the game, and Merseyside just looked like a better, more disciplined team. Offense towards the end got it going again. We moved the ball. Defense played pretty well. The scoreline doesn't do them justice. They had one big breakaway play, and their second score they'd started in our own 20 anyway. But they were a disciplined team. They deserved the win. For myself, it's the first regular season loss I've had for 18 months, 2 years. So I'm not quite sure how to take it. But a lot of positives and a great way to, or certainly a great building block to work from.
Anybody who's out there in the British game, it's particularly hard from a junior level to sustain that success with the turnover being literally a sort of 2-year, 3-year maximum that you have players with.
It is. It's very difficult, but you do what you can do. We've got a little running back, Daniel Kumi, who really stepped up to the plate today. It's his second game. He had a pre-season back in March, and with the scheduling issues, we booked it for March, thinking we're going to be playing games in April, and here we are, June 10th. With our first game of the season, so it's 2 months back, and It's almost like having another pre-season again.
Sure. So let's turn our attention a little bit to today's game. Obviously, Sandwell and Nottingham has become a little bit of a rivalry over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
We were here last year when, as I mentioned to the coaches, particularly the Sandwell coach, the Caesars were pretty much written off, as they have been today, and managed to put in a sterling performance and pulled out a victory.
Yeah, I mean, from Steelers' perspective, their starting quarterback went down injured. That always makes things difficult when you haven't got a backup to his level. At that point, they were winning in the game. This year they've had a change of quarterback and moved their backup Cal Davidson out to receiver. So it'll be really interesting. They've got Tristan Varney back playing contact football, who's been out of the game for a while, but was one of the better university quarterbacks that we've seen in Britain. So it'll be really entertaining, I think, to see what he does. And from Caesar's perspective, I think looking around from who I've seen, they've got a full linebacking core, which they didn't have last week, or their starting linebackers, and I think that'll be a real benefit, and we'll see what they can do.
The one concern that being down the sideline before warm-ups that I spoke to a couple of the coaches about, only one running back, one true halfback out there today for the season. That's John Holmes.
Yeah, it's difficult. We were in the same boat today. We had defensive players repping in. Defensive players always like to run with the football, I think, given the chance. They've got Big Bash out there who they can always use as a fullback.
Absolutely.
But Caesars predominantly over the last few years have been a passing game anyway, so they're more than capable of working around that situation.
I think the key today is for Nottingham to come out with a little bit more energy than they did last week. Right from the off last week, that game was flat against Leicester.
It was, yeah, and I think they'd already given up before it had even begun in that game. I'd like to think, and it sounds like they're in a much better way behind us down there on the field. I think they're coming out to give this a real shot and see if they can take this as underdogs.
So this is our second broadcast of the weekend. We were getting used to doing games a little bit more frequently, but not necessarily back-to-back as we have done this weekend. We were fortunate enough to be out in Tamworth at Pack Meadow yesterday for the latest Tamworth Phoenix encounter in Europe against the Oslo Vikings. We managed to get some highlights on that, and we'll just bring you a brief taste of that right now. Inside. Sorry, welcome back. We've moved inside from our sideline studio today. The temperature's a little bit toasty, and George and I aren't blessed with a great deal of hair on top to protect ourselves.
Thanks. I had a little bit left, but yeah, it's going.
So, that game yesterday, the Oslo game, I know when I spoke to Jason Scott yesterday, he was all about the win. He obviously mentioned about performance, but it really was a win that he was happy with and looking for. And the Oslo Vikings started really hot. I know you weren't out there yesterday, but right from the opening, the Vikings went 3 and out. The Phoenix went 3 and out and then punted on the first play from scrimmage for the Oslo Vikings. Unfortunately, the quarterback centre exchange went to ground and one of the Tamworth players dove on that ball. And before you knew it, Tamworth was 7-0 ahead. Then a little bit later in that first period, a pick six put them 14-0 up. And before you knew it, their next offensive possession saw them go 21-0 ahead, and that was basically the ball game there. Oslo struggled to get back. It appears that they struggled to travel a little bit yesterday. There were some big players, but nevertheless, that was yesterday, and this is today. We welcome the Sandwell Steelers to Nottingham in this NFC 1 South clash between the Nottingham Caesars and the Sandwell Steelers. You can see the coin toss has just taken place. And we will look to bring you action forthwith. Interesting note, the Caesars have had a couple of new players to their roster this week. One of note is a certain Richard Thomas, who looked to be out there playing tight end number 42. And Richard Thomas is the assistant manager of Notts County Football Club.
I was not aware of that.
No, I wasn't until about 20 minutes ago.
Is it the same Richard Thomas? Because I also know a Richard Thomas that owns a local farm.
It is the same Richard Thomas.
Okay.
Just to give him his kudos and his credit. So, coin toss has taken place. I mentioned in our interviews to the coaches, you heard, does this last year's game have any bearing on this year's game?
No, not at all. Two completely different squads, as we mentioned in the pre-show. Different quarterback for the Steelers, different quarterback for the Caesars as well. It's not a new team altogether for both sides, but you've got a new head coach at Sandwell as well, Maxwell Petherjohn, who's worked with the Lions for a number of years now as well. So a whole new dynamic for both of these teams. And I don't think last year has any bearing for these guys.
So, as you can see there, the Caesars will be lining up to kick off, which will mean that the Steelers and Tristan Varney will be on offense first this afternoon. Just about set to get this one underway. Prediction, George, for the afternoon?
No comment.
Sitting on the fence as normal.
No, I think, if I'm being completely honest, I think it'll be 30 to 17 to the Sandwell Steelers.
Okay, so a closer game than we've had of late, hopefully, for the Nottingham outfit. Let's see how we go. As that ball is kicked off and the kick return is taken at the 5. And that's Callum Davidson, that replacement, that backup QB that you mentioned. Callum Davidson gets the ball out just past his 15-yard line, and Sandwell will take over.
Much better effort there from the Caesars special teams unit after last week's disappointing game all round, I think, really, with the second special teams play. Taylor Brown just waltzing up the field, almost walking, and shut them down early that time and stopping Callum Davidson on their own 20.
So improvement right from the off for the Nottingham outfit. Let's see whether this defence, which is historically the stalwart linchpin of the Nottingham outfit, can get itself set. So Varney in at quarterback, and he immediately flips the ball out to his right-hand side, and that fortunately was deemed to be a forward pass intended for Steve Kinnersley, but that ball drops incomplete and will bring up second down.
Yeah, I've been informed from various sources that Sandwell are one of those teams that like to run and throw quite a lot of those bubble screens out towards the sideline.
Okay, so second down is upcoming. First pass incomplete from Tristan. See whether or not, with this big spread offense that most teams are running this time, as the ball is handed off, and that is Jones Crash, and Jones Crash picks up positive yardage on second down. Jones Cross, my apologies, trying to decipher the handiwork here. So Jones Cross with the carry, bring up 3rd and 7, pickup of 2 for Jones Cross's first carry of the afternoon. Be a real boost for that Nottingham defence if they can force a 3 and out on this opening drive.
Yeah, absolutely, and with it being about 3 and 8 yards, 3rd and 8, they're in a good position to do so.
So you'd ordinarily think that most teams are going to pass from this situation, and Varney does drop back and he swings it out again, and he does hit his receiver, and that is James Jones Cross once again. Yeah. But good lateral pursuit from the Caesars D.
Former product of the Birmingham Lions juniors. Stepping up, it's his second year at senior level, I believe.
So Varney's first pass goes for 2 yards. You can see tries to hold the linebacker's eyes, then swings it out into the flats, and it's a good open field tackle by that Caesars linebacker covering that halfback. But it is 4th down. So let's see what this Caesars return game can do with Alex Cardenas, I believe that is, back to return. And it's a short punt, but it takes a Sandwell bounce, and it keeps bouncing and just goes out of bounds inside the 25-yard line where Nottingham will start.
I never quite understood that. You may have heard on the atmospheric mics people shouting "poison, poison," and that's, there is a flag on the play. I'll let the officials speak.
You may not be able to hear our officials today at home. I think we might be able to in the booth, but we'll bring you up to speed with what the crew will be saying for penalties and such like this afternoon.
Does look like they may be marching the Caesars back though.
Here we go.
Okay, we got block at the back, red 51. We're going back 15.
So that is a block
in the back.
10.
Block in the back against
Half
Andrew.
distance, yeah. Half distance penalty.
So if a special teams coordinator shouting poison for, is a sign to get away from the ball, why do players keep trekking towards the ball? Why not just walk away?
Absolutely.
Don't even risk it.
Absolutely, because these things do not bounce predictably.
No.
So that is Richard Thomas called with the block in the back penalty, and
A good punt, really, off the back of that penalty.
from what looked like relatively comfortable field position, just outside the 20-yard line, the Caesars are backed up inside their 10. So first down, Nottingham. In fact, it might be the 11-yard line, and John Holmes is that half-back that we mentioned, the only half-back this afternoon for Nottingham, and he is stuffed at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, completely stuffed there by the line of scrimmage, and it looked like Sam Banner was one of the big boys that was on that tackle. And he is a very big boy looking from up here.
He does look like he casts a very large shadow. So it'll be 2nd and 10. It looks like Holmes did manage to get back to the line of scrimmage.
Actually, due to the position of the sun at the moment, the shadows are quite low, quite short.
Just a turn of phrase, George. You don't need to be picking up everything.
The folks at home can see those shadows.
Just a turn of phrase. Just trying to add some colour to the commentary. Doesn't need nitpicking every time. Didn't have this yesterday with Joe Walker. As Cy Denning drops back to pass, and it's a nice completion on first down.
Looked like Jack Winfield was the receiver on that play.
Does indeed, number 81, Jack Winfield, former junior product. Denning completes his first pass of the afternoon for a pickup of 5. It'll bring up 3rd down. Yeah, that was what we noticed last week, particularly, is that Denning's passes seem to not have a lot of zip to them. That one came out very nice and crisp.
Yeah, it did, and as we've mentioned, the inconsistency with Denning, but when he's on form, he's very, very good. So if they've got him on form today, they'll stand a real strong chance.
Denning dropped a pass again, and this time he goes up top, and he's looking for his man. That ball is uncatchable, thrown out of bounds, intended for Charlie Patterson, veteran of the Caesars.
It was well covered as well there by Pete Roden, the defensive back.
So that will be 4th down, 3 and out for both sides. Give a shout out to one of our directors, Steve Matthews, who's on his way back up from the Big Smoke, and apparently that last time the referee made his call, it woke one of the passengers up in the car. So Steve not very happy about that, as Winfield puts his foot through that one, and it's not a bad kick. Bounces out of bounds just across midfield, and Varney and the Sandwell offence will take over their second possession of the afternoon in good field position.
It's quite clear that the Caesars have been working on special teams at Wednesday night practice. If you saw there, they were flying down the field, much, much more effort than there was last week against the Falcons.
So as ever, get in touch with us here at the show. We'd love to hear where you are watching, whether you're a Sandwell fan, a Caesars fan, or just a fan of football. This afternoon, we will give you some shout-outs if you can hit us up. There's the hashtag to use on Twitter, Not versus San, as Varney gives the ball off, and that's picked up a yard on that first carry, but no more.
Yeah, much better interior line work there.
Jones Cross once again with the carry. It'll bring up 2nd and 9 for Sandwell. As ever, lots of other games going on around the league today, and we will keep you posted with developments during the afternoon. This one really be a real good confidence boost for Nottingham, obviously if they can win, but if they can put in a more consistent performance. And Varney, with lots of time, goes down the left-hand side, and he's got a man deep, and that man makes the catch. He's at the 5, and he's into the end zone for the first touchdown of the afternoon.
Yeah, and that was Varney to Josh Lawrence there.
45 yards through the air, and Lawrence goes in for the opening score.
Lawrence, a very talented receiver, left, well, not wide open. The coverage was fairly good, but the DB almost looked back to find that ball and just lost that half yard, that 1 yard step, and it was floated perfectly into the basket.
Naturally, Lawrence had to slow down a little bit, so you may, if you're going to be completely pedantic, suggest it was a tad underthrown. But
we're not in this to be nitpicky.
He got enough separation from his DB.
He did.
That he could afford the time to wait.
And it dropped straight into that basket, well caught under pressure, and in he goes.
There's a difference between being nitpicky about comments, but then being nitpicky about plays is called analysing.
It's all right. We're
Okay.
moving on.
So the conversion wasn't successful. So the score remains Sandwell 6 and the Caesars 0. But after that first 3 and out for the Steelers, which will have buoyed the Caesars defence, that's a very quick drive, which offensive linemen love.
Yeah, it was. Caesar's stuffing the run early on that drive, but a great deep throw.
So let's see if the return game for the Caesars can be as effective as the coverage has proved to be already. We have Cardenas back deep to return with, I believe that's Rob Hardwick. That's Sandwell. I'll tell you what, looking at that Sandwell kick coverage team, there's some big lads on there as well. It's chipped up towards Cardenas, and he takes it above his head, and his knee unfortunately goes down. Oh, now, there was a big whistle there.
Excuse me.
Now, the reason the whistle was blown because as Cardenas fielded that ball, he slipped and his knee touched the turf, which technically means he was down. He got up and sort of slowly jogged on, and then a tackle was made by the Steelers, which could have been deemed to be a little late as the whistle was blowing.
I'd say it was very late
Yeah,
as the whistle blew.
But nevertheless, no flags. And Nottingham find themselves in a very similar situation to their first
I
possession.
think Nottingham a little unlucky there, really.
First down inside their own 10-yard line. We will see whether or not they can convert and pick up the first down of the afternoon here. Denning will be at quarterback once again. He'll obviously have John Holmes behind him at halfback. He's got Winfield and Patterson to his left, the right-hand side of the screen as you look. So Denning this time hands the ball again to Holmes, and Holmes runs into another big grey wall. And there's nothing doing there on first down.
Yeah, when you've got a big defensive lineman like that big man in Banner, there isn't really any holes to run up because he fills them very, very quickly.
So second, and to be fair to Holmes, he did manage to pick up 2 yards there on that. So quite impressive for him to keep those legs going, particularly when he's not the biggest of backs. You'd say he was more of an agile back than a power back. So let's see as Denning drops back again. The offensive line do some good work this time. And
and that's slipped through the hands of the receiver, and it looked like Danny Johns. But that's one you've got to grab, even if you are in contact.
Again, we'll nitpick slightly behind Johns, but like you say, it's one he should be holding on to, definitely.
If you get hands on that ball, you've got to catch it.
Absolutely, quite right. Quite right indeed. So, that would have been good positive yardage for Nottingham, but unfortunately it will bring up third and maybe a long 8, maybe call it 9. See if Nottingham and the Denning-led offence can convert this time. Blitz showing, and that looks like to be...
Looks like a false start, yeah.
Yeah, I think so as well.
It's just whether that defender stepped into the neutral zone.
No. First start, 58, red. 5-yard penalty, repeat the down.
I think generally the premise of a microphone means that you can talk rather than have to shout.
Yes.
And therefore, maybe one of our chain crew or coaching officials can just let our ref know that. But nevertheless, unfortunately, Nottingham marching backwards and find themselves in a hole again, just outside their own 5-yard line. 3rd and 14 upcoming. And this will be a monster of a conversion if Denning can get them out of this one, but at the moment, a little bit of time. Looking in the back, just for John Holmes running out of the backfield, just to settle down in the seam there underneath the linebackers. But again, not overly accurate that time from Denning, and Winfield is in a bit of a hole now to try and relieve some pressure.
Just got to find a way to get this offense moving. They've struggled over the last couple of weeks. I'm not sure if they got a first down last week at all.
I think they did, but it might have been by
penalties. Yeah, they're one of those teams where it's they're nearly their team. We nearly made that pass, and it's just getting that little bit of finish that both the Steelers and the Falcons seem to have.
Winfield puts a high kick up there, which is good for the coverage team because it means that they can get underneath where the ball lands, not allowing Davidson to return the football. But as it stands now, Sandwell will start their third possession inside Nottingham territory. And from what we've seen from Varney in that offence, they're a strike team from anywhere on the field. So a little bit about the Steelers then, relatively new in the world of Britball. They started in 2013 under the original head coach Steve Harrington. A couple of rocky years at the start, as with all new programmes, just settling in. And then coach Colin Branner, formerly of many Midlands teams, who's now with the Leicester Falcons, he began to put the foundations in place as that carry on first down by Ralph Chisholm, goes for 5 yards. Under the leadership of head coach Jay Alexander, who incidentally is now playing inside linebacker for the Steelers today. They were promoted from Division 2 to Division 1 in 2015 and then spent the last couple of years in Division 1, making the playoffs the last 2 seasons. Davison looks down the middle and he's got that man, it's Davison, and Davison makes a beautiful catch in traffic for a first down. In fact, it'll be first down inside the 15, and there's your difference, catching the ball in traffic.
Yeah, and it was well taken as well. Just to add to that, Steelers have really become the feeder team from the Birmingham University Lions, both the uni side and the junior side as well. James Jones-Cross being one of those products, along with Callum Davidson and Tristan Varney.
Beautiful 25-yard pass there from Varney.
And it does look like there is a Caesar down. Can't quite get a number.
So the last couple of years, the playoffs adventure has ended for the Steelers at the hands of Bury and Manchester, who are both Prem teams. The programme have also a very successful youth and women's programme. And obviously, as you've mentioned, George, really good links with the Birmingham Lions junior programme. Highlights of the club, obviously very short history, but played one bowl game and won that bowl game, making the playoffs in the last 3 seasons of a row. So playing at a high level right from the off.
Sorry to interrupt you. That looks like linebacker Andrew Thomas that's being assisted off by the physio and Tom Harvey.
And unfortunately, it doesn't look like he can put a great deal of weight at all on that left ankle, or that left leg particularly. So that'll be a blow for the Nottingham defence. But the Nottingham defence also have more pressing issues, as Varney and the Steelers will be having first down inside the 15 at the 13-yard line, looking to double their advantage. Davidson's still in there at slot position on the left-hand side, along with Josh Lawrence.
There's a new one.
So first down. Throws it out to Lawrence rather, and Lawrence goes around the left side. There's a flag down, which will generally be in the vicinity of an illegal block, and Davidson may well be pinged for this one. It is. That's where it's coming. So this will be marching Sandwell back.
Two silver.
And you are right, it is on Callum Davidson.
Holding number 2 silver. 10-yard penalty.
Well,
Still first down.
Has he finished?
I'm
finished?
I'm not sure.
He's done.
The decibels, I think, were way over the health and safety limit for our profession.
You can see again there, Davidson with the block, and he looks like he sort of gets his hands up there towards the pad region of the defender, and then rather than pushing, sort of grabs some jersey there and pulls him round. Anyway, it'll bring up first and 15. First and 15, maybe 16, as Davidson comes in motion around the back of Varney, and this time the ball is handed off, and he running to the right with a fantastically athletic play, siding through the defence. He's number 32.
Yeah, we've got a player down and a flag as well, so I think that play would be coming back.
My apologies, that's 33. Chisholm's second carry of the afternoon, but it may well be negated by a penalty again. Let's see. Generally, if it's a run play, unless there's a face mask call, it's going to be against the offence.
Holding 55 silver. 10 yards. Still first down.
Please, Mr. Official, talk into your microphone. At this point, I just like to, as much as we're having a bit of a giggle, these Bafa officials, obviously, it's not the most lucrative job in the world. They do it for the love of the game, and we mentioned yesterday that without those guys in the black and white jerseys, then the games wouldn't be able to go on. If you're interested in getting involved, then visit bafa.com and
I think it might be .org. I'm not quite certain.
Okay, fair enough. As Varney drops back again, looks to his left again, and he's got a man. It's Davison. All the way through Davison's hands, but that was a touchdown begging there. And
Just
Davison,
a tad overthrown that time.
Davison obviously is a particular focal point of this Steelers attack. But yeah, you obviously will agree with this as we watch a replay of Varney. Loads of time again. Look at that offensive line.
So calm in the pocket as well.
Absolutely. There are so many different variety of roles on an American football team, from obviously players to coaches to game day managers to equipment managers to ball boys to chain crew to treasurers, and all the way into the officiating side of things. So if you're wanting to get involved, then there are plenty of opportunities. And this time,
looks like Josh Lawrence.
Josh Lawrence indeed with the pickup, and he's going to get back to the original first down marker, the original line of scrimmage. But that's Varney completing another ball to Lawrence for a pickup of 10. Third down and 7. Or 9. Or 8. It depends what the scoreboard wishes to do. We've got that adjusted to 3rd and 8 for you. I think that's probably accurate as things go. Varney already over 50 yards passing. Not far off 100 yards in this first period as he pump fakes and he throws the ball this time over to Austin Young. And
He's going to come up short.
But I think with the confidence of the Steelers offense, you can...
well, actually, Young looks hurt.
Jogging off the field is Young after a pickup of 4. Let's see, Varney is still on the field there, so you would suggest that the Steelers are going to try and convert this 4th down. And to be fair, if they don't manage to, the Caesars offense as yet have not really shown any potential for explosion, having started in a similar field
Davison
position.
And Lawrence on that far side of your screens. I suspect that will be where he's aiming.
Oh, he's looking to make the guys jump, and this time it is handed off. And there is a flag on the play, and that will more than likely be encroachment against the defence. It is. There's the signal from the official. Just out of your shot at the moment, but that will be encroachment. And regardless, that will end up in a first down for the Steelers.
Okay, we got offside, red number 7, 5 yards. No, half distance. Half distance.
Maybe don't discuss this over the mic.
Yeah.
2.5.
Officiating crew trying to work these things out together.
Half distance. Still 4th down.
So that brings.
We've got first down. Okay.
So that will bring up.
First down, Silver.
There you go. That will bring up first down after our official has made the decision, the right decision as well, after the encroachment penalty. First and goal, Sandwell inside the Caesars 5. You heard probably around about the 2.5 yard line for Varney in the offense. Still with that spread. Ball handed off again, round out right end, and met by 2 Caesars, but not until Chisholm has gone round through past the pylons for a 2-yard score.
Yeah, powerful run there as he knocks a Caesar over on his way through.
But again, here we can see there weren't a lot of Caesars challenging there. The outside contain was lost, and he does knock 2 Caesars over as they're attempting to make the tackle, but that tackle is attempted to be made in the end zone, and with all due respect, too late. So going for 2 again off Sandwell as Varney drops back to pass. A little screen pass, and it's incomplete. And the score remains the Sandwell Steelers 12 and the Nottingham Caesars 0. And then George, first quarter not far off coming to an end. Same old, same old.
It's a little difficult to say. I think Caesars have moved. They've not got a first down, but they've completed a few passes. They look like they're going to be able to move something But Sandwell, I'm not surprised they're moving the ball as well as they have done. They're a well-drilled, well-disciplined team. You know who the threats are. You know Josh Lawrence and Callum Davidson are the real receiving threats. You've got to target those as a defensive coordinator. And just see, but they've stuffed the run game. To be fair to them, they haven't had major gains. I know they scored on a running play there on an outside play, but they haven't had major gains on the running game. So the linebackers are doing their job from that front.
Chisholm looks powerful out of the backfield as well. The number 33 who's just run that latest touchdown in. As that man that we've mentioned already, Lawrence kicks the ball deep, and Cardenas does manage to field this one, and he's got a good return. Oh!
Just grabbed a cleat on his way through that hole.
But that does set the Caesars up in slightly more comfortable field position on their just past their 30-yard line. Let's see if the offense can get going this time.
Yeah, we've had one or two issues, I think. Is it Cardenas or Cardenas? But he said, he came over to me on the sideline and he says, let's call him Alex C. Let's call him Alex C, but it sounds like he works in an electrical store then. Alex D's out back somewhere.
Right, well, we'll go with Alex C if that's what he's wishing for. Anyway, Denon in the offense, their latest attempt. And that's Holmes again on that same play they've tried on the last 2 first downs, and this time he goes for a 3 or 4 yard loss, does Holmes.
Oh, you say Holmes is the only running back. Alex is also a running back.
That is true. That is true.
And that was well stuffed again by the Sandwell defensive front.
So 2nd down and 12 after the loss of 2 on the play. Nottingham will be looking, as we say, just to try and get a little bit of positivity and gain a first down. That's always your first goal in any game. Steelers moving the ball at will as the blitz threatens up the middle, and Denon has time this time, and he pops the ball over there, and there's a flag.
There's a late flag, yeah. It looks like it was a completed pass though.
To Winfield. And Holmes seems to be marching backwards, as does the offensive line for the Caesars, which suggests this may well be going the way of the Burgundy Fire. Trying to wait for our official signal. We mentioned in our last couple of games that the Sandwell team may well be the only contenders other than the Falcons to the Div Crown. As we pull our...
Illegal hands to face! 66, red, 10 yards, previous spot.
No penalty called on Tom Harvey there.
So, things going from bad to worse for the home team. 2nd and 22 now. And yeah, we mentioned that the battle for the title here will more than likely come down to the Leicester Steelers. I mean, I know I'm being a bit premature at the moment with the still in the first quarter.
I think it's fair to say, whilst it is early days here, but I think it's likely the Steelers are the challengers versus the Falcons from many of the teams this year.
And that's a nice pass that time. Nice swing pass out in front of Holmes, and Holmes managed to pick up a little bit of positive yardage. Picks up maybe 5. So that'll bring up 3rd down and 16. But yes, the way that the Sandwell team have started this game, the composure of Varney and that offense, it would appear that it will be decided, and that return game later in the year between the Falcons and the Steelers will be pivotal. Currently, the Leicester are 5-0, Sandwell 3-1. Shropshire then sit at 2-2 behind them, and the Caesars then 2-3, with the Doncaster Mustangs and the Coventry Jets yet to register anything in the win column. So here we go, 3rd and 16, and Denning goes up top, and he's got a man. Oh, and that's almost intercepted without him even realising.
It looks like Johns was the target man, and actually Johns, I think, is calling for PI.
Real good close coverage, and to be fair to Denning, that ball was placed in a decent position. We'll see if we can get anything on the replay as to whether or not there was any interference there, but
arm across, but that's good coverage.
Got his head round for the ball.
Yeah,
and
that's good coverage. He made an attempt for the ball. His head was round. Fair play.
Completely agree. So another 3 and out, which will give this potent Steelers offense another opportunity to extend the lead into the 20s maybe. As Winfield puts the ball at this time, and Davison isn't going to be able to field this one either, as it takes a bit of a Steelers bounce, and they'll take over at the 36-yard line to see if they can extend things again. Mentioned earlier on, there are ways and means to communicate with us here at Onside. Get in touch with us via Twitter with the hashtag #NotVersusSan. We'd love to read a message out for you, find out where you are watching, where you are, who you're supporting, whether or not you give the Steelers any chance of coming back in this one. And I know obviously you'll be first-hand experience of this in the fact that it's hot down there, and it was this morning.
It was very, very warm this morning.
As Chisholm gets the ball once again and makes one defender bounce, almost pings off him before his movement is stopped close to first down yardage, and that'll be a pickup of 9.
Yeah, good solid running that time from him. As you say, people just bouncing off like a pinball.
Not really doing anything any overly complicated from a strategic point of view.
No, but if it's working, don't fix what ain't broke.
So why are they being so effective? What are the Caesars' defensive front not accomplishing at the minute?
Well, you're going up against a big offensive line to start with. It makes it difficult. It looks like they've got 92 for the Caesars. Haven't got a number 4. I suspect is the man known as Elvis. Elvis Benson. He's new to the sport. As far as I'm aware, I think he may have had a year. He's up against a tough front. They know how to play up against a 3-4 front. It's just, you can scheme for it, but ultimately your players have to do what needs to be done on that scheme, and if they're not quite pulling that off, and if you can get that nose guard out the way on an inside run, you're away. And that was a fantastic play there by Andrew Wilkins, flying through to make that tackle in the backfield.
Andrew Wilkins, veteran of the Caesars, a real linchpin at that linebacking core along with Ashley Matthews, and you can see him then coming off the right end of that Caesars defensive line.
He knew that play was coming. He knew exactly where he was going to hit, and bang, down he goes.
And that could be a momentum changer. Obviously, from scoring pretty much at will over the last 2 possessions, that's forced a 3 and out from the Steelers.
Yeah, you got Alex C back there, and if he does pick it up, he's got a real chance of running. Certainly getting a big yardage pickup.
See if they kick towards him, or they angle that one towards the sideline, actually.
That's a P-roller.
And that Alex will let that one just drift, and it continues to roll, and unfortunately, once again, Nottingham will find themselves pinned back in their own territory on their 10-yard line.
That was the right decision from him to leave that be. When you've got 2 guys thundering down like that, you've got to bend over to pick it up. You either dive on that ball and stop it early, but he was okay.
So, will we see Nottingham come out with that same first run as we end the first quarter here at Harvey Haddon, with a score which unfortunately over the past couple of weeks has been a familiar one? Nottingham on the wrong end of a 12-0 deficit as we move into the second period. So we'll try and bring you scores from around the country as we go. There are some other 2:30 kickoffs, some 3 o'clock kickoffs as well, up and down the country as normal. But what have Nottingham got to do then in terms of finding a little bit more success against the Steelers defence?
Got to get that passing game. Well, they've got to get that running game going. That offensive line playing hard. But they've got a big guy to move out the way. They've got to work. They've got to scheme something in the running game to move Banner out the way. If they're going to run, if they're going to pass, they need to keep it short and simple, and let those receivers do what they can to move. Charlie Patterson out there, he can run if he gets a chance to run, and Danny Johns is in the same boat, and Lovett, not the biggest receiver, but hands on ball, he can make plays. They've just got to find something rather than going for the deep ball.
There's that same play on first down again that they've run on their previous two.
The Steelers are smart, and they know that's going to come. And if they know that's going to come, that defensive front has an easy chance to shut it down early. You've got an offensive lineman that's hurting. We saw him down on the down on the sideline. Looked like a bit of a hand issue. You know, you've got to run it outside if you're going to run it against them.
And look at that. You're straight on second down and you're in negative yardage. You're second and 11, second and 12.
And as Jimmy's just brightly said, play action.
Absolutely. Simon has had time. He looks to be on point a little more today than he was last week with his passing from what we've seen early doors. So put a bit of responsibility in his hands just at this point. Incidentally, the other game going on today in this division is between the Shropshire Evolution and Doncaster Mustangs. That's currently 0-0 in the first quarter.
I think
this time they look to run the jet sweep but hand it off to Holmes again.
You know, and that outside run, actually, the option there was open to Patterson. And just going back to that, Shropshire, I think, if memory serves, came out victors 56-20 the last time those two teams played. So it'd be interesting to see what happens.
So Shropshire will be hoping for a victory themselves, along with a Sandwell loss, which will see them equal the Steelers in second place. So, third and long for Nottingham. Let's see if Denning can convert. It's got to go through the air, surely, and it looks to, and he puts the ball over, and it's...
Just took a pop there as he looked to release that ball. 28 from the Steelers looked to be the man with the pressure. We haven't got a name for, unfortunately.
Through the hands of Danny Johns, the intended receiver there, and once again it's a 3 and out. And standing in his own end zone is Jack Winfield.
Oh, I see why you made that mistake
now.
I do now.
Yep. Standing in his own end field is Jack Winzone. Is that right?
Whatever you want to call it.
Jack Winzone. That's I quite like that as a surname. Jack Winzone.
Max Steele.
Here we go. Let's see if Jack can bail them out once again, as he has done so often over the past few weeks. It's another high kick, which is Davidson looks to let bounce over his head, and this one takes a Caesar's bounce into Steelers territory. And the silver-clad outfit will take over for their next possession, very close to midfield. A few other scores then to bring you up to date with. Let's go into the Prem. At the moment, we have the Merseyside Nighthawks taking on the Manchester Titans. It's currently 7-6 to the Nighthawks. Edinburgh Wolves and the East Kilbride Pirates. EKP were struggling significantly this year, find themselves 7-0 down currently to the Wolves. That's in the Prem North. In the Prem South, the Bristol Aztecs are taking on the London Blitz. No score from that one yet, and the Warriors are currently 6-0 ahead of the Olympians. In the NFC 1 North, the Yorkshire Rams 6-2 ahead of the Lancashire Wolverines, and the Leeds Bobcats and the Glasgow Tigers are currently tied at 0 in the first quarter. So you're up to date with Prem and Div 1 games so far as Varney drops back, and he's got Davidson, and Davidson steps inside. He's at the 10, the 5, he's up to the goal line, on his feet, into the end zone, touchdown Sandwell, and they extend their lead easily.
And that was a beautiful play. You know, the connection there between Varney and Davidson was absolutely on point. Davidson, I'm not actually sure whether he just takes a little trip as to why he goes off course. But you look at this.
Roughing the passer, red. Penalty declined. Touchdown.
But that ball was thrown on a rope.
It was.
You know, that was absolutely on point. He knew where that receiver was going to be. Davidson catches it beautifully and knows exactly where he's heading. And, you know, all credit to them. That was a fantastic play to put them 18-0 up.
Varney close on 140 yards already, and we're not even at half-time. 140 yards through the air. Callum Davison now close to 70 yards receiving. Obviously in the return game as well, and it's just those two guys, obviously with the support of Lawrence and Chisholm as well, who are just carving up this defence as Davison does take the ball on that 2-point conversion, and once again 3 2-point attempts for the Steelers and 3 unsuccessful tries. So the score remains the Nottingham Caesars 0 and the Sandwell Steelers 18 here in Nottingham on this sunny June afternoon. Well, we're at that point again where you think, well, it's now or never.
Yes, they need to get a score, whether it's 3 points or 7 points. They just need to move the ball more than anything. And again, we're at this stage where they haven't got a first down, and if they don't get this offense moving, it plays havoc with the defense, who are consistently on the field. We had the same problem this morning. The offense couldn't get moving through the second and third quarter, and defense were burning out, and it doesn't help.
You mentioned about Varney being a talent through the university game, and I mean, when you look at his stats, he's 6'3", 225 pounds. He's currently throwing 8 TDs. Well, with the 2 today, he's now thrown 10 TDs with only 1 interception on the season. He's just a perfect specimen for that particular position, and he's showing how it could be done with a little pooch kickoff.
Don't know if that was intentional or not.
Not sure.
Well received by the Caesars up backs.
And to be fair, it's like you said, that's kind of it's not an onside where your team are really going to recover it, and it's not a deep kickoff.
It did look actually that he just took a little slip as he went to kick that ball, but it was well taken nonetheless by Caesars 24.
Baby Bash.
Yeah, Baby Bash, Kieran Matthews.
Like you say, well,
I think he did just not quite follow through.
Yeah, jabbed at it, didn't he? But nevertheless, bonus for Nottingham.
Yeah, puts them in decent field position. Really the best field position the offence has had so far today.
They have to make something of this. No opportunity other than getting something on the board before half-time. So, here come Denning and that offence again. Surely it won't be that run. Oh, and that's
going to look like an offside, but no flags have been thrown.
And now this time,
Alex C
does manage to get things moving. It looked like the same play that we've seen at the beginning of the last 3 Caesars drives, but that time Alex C sees there isn't a gap where the intended run is and bounces back to the left, and up he goes for a good pickup of 14 and the first down.
I mean, I haven't seen the scheme, but I would imagine there is a designed cutback lane in this playbook, which if the hole closes, the initial read closes, they have a lane to cut back up, and he read that beautifully, and off he went.
All well and good having that cutback lane if the running back's got the vision to see it.
Yes, absolutely, and Alex is an experienced running back out of the US, and when he gets the opportunity to run, you see what he can do.
So, and that's a false start by Winfield.
No, it's interesting that they called the false start and not the offside. So
to my eyes, Winfield definitely went first.
He definitely did. I was the previous play, the Steelers outside linebacker was certainly offside.
False start! Red 81! 5 yards, repeat the down!
For goodness sake, Mr. Official, please just use the technology in front of you. Although, to his defence, he may well be wanting to try and make sure the spattering of fans in the stands here are also informed, and unfortunately he's not hooked up to our PA system here in the main stand at Harvey Haddon today. So, always looking for the positives whenever he can, as Denning drops back to pass, and he looks to his left, now looks to his right, and he throws to Cardenas, but Cardenas has no option but to catch that ball with his knee on the floor due to the fact that Denning puts it down at his shoelaces.
Yeah, I feel for Cardenas there. He had open running lane, but he had to do what he had to do to make that grab.
And as a result, that means the Caesars lose yardage.
And it's difficult to tell a skilled guy or a skilled position not to catch the football.
Yeah.
But in that position, he would have been better just to bat it down.
Absolutely. So, again, Nottingham in a hole. After crossing halfway, they now find themselves back in their own territory. 2nd and 18. Just across their own 40-yard line. Denning dropping back to pass again. There's a blitz coming, but it's picked up nicely, and the ball is popped up looking for Johns, and Johns sort of checks that, and really...
It wasn't really on Denning that time. Johns slowed up and was really in the wrong position. He had a man open in the flats on the left-hand side of your screen, the top side of your screen, but opted to go for that deep ball.
There does seem to be quite a lot of space there in the middle of the field, just beyond the linebackers, where maybe a slant could be utilised. But But hey, it's easy to see and it's easy to call once you see it happening. It's hard to put in there and react to down on the field in the heat of battle. But nevertheless, Danny and the offence find themselves in familiar third and long territory. And the ball is in Denning's hands, and he looks, there is that slant, and Winfield has got the ball over across midfield and sort of crumples as he crosses the 40-yard line, picks up 9-10 yards.
He's not the most comfortable in contact situations, and actually it looks like he's taken a pop to the forearm.
And then runs into his own man coming off with that forearm.
Yes, doing well.
Still love to hear from you if we can. Not versus San. You can see at the top left of your screen there as Nottingham face another 4th down, but at least this time they could be pinning Davis and Varney and the offence inside their own half, all being well. And with Winfield coming out, it looks like it will be Danny Johns, I think. That's an awful snap. And Johns manages to get the ball away.
Well, they are going to flag that, actually, so they're going to get an automatic first down for hitting the kicker, but hitting the punter. But that's difficult.
It is.
That's difficult for a defensive unit. I apologise, I was coming off an illness, but it's difficult for a defensive unit to decide whether or not to hit the punter. The punter arguably was in a safe position. He wasn't a vulnerable player there. He hadn't even attempted to make the kick. You know,
it is borderline, isn't it?
It is very, very borderline. You can't obviously leave him to run out.
And as a result of him dropping the ball, it's
it's right on that. Actually, looking at the replay, he was coming out to kick, but that is very, very borderline.
Now it depends. If it's a running into the kicker, then it's only going to be a 5-yard penalty. If it's a roughing the kicker, then obviously.
Here we are, roughing the kicker, so running into the kicker, sorry. 5-yard penalty, still 4th down.
There you go.
So it is 4th down.
I'm not quite sure how you differentiate between roughing and running into the kicker from that position. If you're going to call that play, that's got to be roughing the kicker, is it not? With 3-4 guys steamrolling over the top.
You'd have thought so. You would have thought so.
I'm not quite sure how. Unless they weren't making a dive for the leg. Well, that's yeah. Jimmy's stating that there may well have been a rule change for one flag, because that's a very hard thing to differentiate between. It's much like the old face mask rule of 5 and 15 yards. How do you differentiate? A face mask is a face mask.
Positive from Nottingham though. 4th and 3, going for it, and you think they have to, and that could be a free play. And
I think they've called that as a false start.
Oh. And that is a killer. That is a killer. It did look like that defensive lineman jumped, but let's have a look.
Hey!
Well, he did look that the referee was going to go to his hips and call a...
Are you sure he wasn't just pulling his waistband up?
There we go.
Offside, 72 with contact. 5-yard penalty, 1st down.
That will be on banner, and the second first down for the Caesars is through a penalty. But Cardenas picking up that first one.
But hey, I think Nottingham at the moment will take any momentum shift they can, and they find themselves inside the 30-yard line.
Absolutely,
of the Steelers.
And subject to Winfield's arm, very much closing in on field goal position if they were to take that option, just to get some points on the board.
First tweet of the afternoon I've just seen. From DC 240191, Dan Charlton, as the ball is handed off up the middle, and there's not a lot going on there, and the whistle's still not blown.
The pile was moving forward.
It was. And that's Alex C once again.
Look like Cardenas picking up 3-4 yards maybe.
Yeah, positive. Yeah, Dan Charlton, that referee really needs to chill out. Well, one for you, Dan Charlton's obviously. Dan Charlton's hot on the Twitter this afternoon. He procrastinating, packing for the move, watching the game. Glad to hear the announcer is feeling better this week.
I am a little better. Yeah, I've had a few days off work. Monday, Tuesday, I was not a well man, and it wasn't man flu. I was told to take time off.
As here comes motion, and the ball is handed off to Alex C again, who looks to his left, then bounces out to the right. He's got a little bit of room, and you know Alex is going to run hard, and he does, down to the 20-yard line. Pick up of another 4 yards and close to another Nottingham first down.
Somebody drops a milk bottle down the steps. No, he does very well. Absolutely nowhere for him to go. Stuffed up the middle there by that big man Banner. Manages to bounce it outside for a couple of yards.
Again, good vision, good quickness, real agile, quick feet. Making things happen. That was executed very nice. The fake jet sweep, and Denning pulls that out, and obviously Alex C is there to receive that handoff. Another one at Mike James. The shouting ref is the funniest thing I've seen for a while.
That's disappointing. I'm sorry to hear that.
What's that? It's the funniest thing you've seen for a while. Yeah.
He's blowing my eardrums out.
And to be fair, that would mean that he's obviously been not watching us for enough. If that's the funniest thing you've seen. Alexandra at ALEFHRR supporting the Steelers all the way from Switzerland. Go number 72.
That is that big man, Sam Banner. There is a flag on the plate.
Nottingham, 5-yard penalty, repeat the down.
So, Nottingham.
Mr. Mikey, I hope you realise that is blowing out our eardrums. It may be hilarious to you, but it's a serious medical condition brewing for us. Rob Amore on the Twitter as well. Not sure what is a filthier combo. Tristan to Josh or Tristan to Callum. Varney throwing bombs today. Offense on fire, defense continue to do their thing. Come on Steelers as Denning pops the ball out to the right and hits Alex C again, and Alex is going to be close to, and he looks like he has picked up a first down, and that combination now from Denning to Alex C. Alex seems to have ignited this offense. Yes, absolutely. Just going back to Robert Moore's tweet, I'd like to mention that you can't put dirty and bomb in the same tweet. That's just asking for trouble. That is,
Nevertheless, some enthralling combinations so far from that Sandwell offense. We saw it at varsity this year with the Trent Renegades against the University of Nottingham students. We saw
and he is looking for that man again now. Cardenas, he could have taken that one.
But Alex, he does. I mean, Alex played quarterback in that game because the Trent Renegades were down to bare bones in that one, and he has a spark. You can see when he's got the ball in his hands, he provides a spark.
And he's a great guy as well. You get talking to him, and he was down on our sideline today, teaching juniors or giving advice to juniors, and he's a great guy. And there's a number of Americans coming across now, including Alex, but Taylor Brown as well, as I mentioned in the past, a very humble guy, and he's taken a few younger players under his wing, and he's really helped them excel. A lot of these guys come over and they think they're, I won't use that term, but, top dog.
Yeah.
But they really do help.
Denning stays in the pocket, and that's in and out of the hands of the defender.
There is a flag, and I would suspect, looking at where it's thrown, will be on roughing the passer.
Paul Zinkus was the DB there who almost picked Denning off, but like you say, very brave from Denning to stand in there.
Yeah, and that is, again, that's borderline. He really was hit as he threw the ball, but they've called it, and what they've called is what they've called.
And they have signalled roughing the passer there. You see one of the officials in the black hat who, with that call, let's see if that is what we can confirm.
Okay, roughing the passer, 99 Silver, half distance.
Now,
first down.
Noticeable substitution. That big man, Ashley Matthews, has stepped in, so it's likely they're going to come out with a fullback in this formation.
And to have Bash lead blocking for Alex, that's an interesting combination, if that is what we're going to see. And we do see that formation with Ash Matthews standing just to the left of Denning. Let's see what happens here, see if that is where we're going. And
nowhere to run, wrapped up very, very well by the defensive front of the Steelers.
Yeah, that offensive line, the defensive ends, like you say, completely crashed down on that one that time. Nowhere for Alex to run.
They've watched that in film. They knew exactly how to handle that play.
You were caught earlier on today, and the Merseyside Nighthawks tried to run from this position, a little corner which they scored on you
Yeah,
down in the far corner.
It was a great play.
It was.
The coverage by our defensive back was absolutely perfect.
The ball was on point.
But sometimes, quarterback and receiver make a great play, and that's what it was.
You wonder here, looking at the man in the slot on the right-hand side here, to the right of your screen, that may well be an option as a slant again.
When it's behind, it looked like Charlie Patterson was the intended target coming on the slant.
It almost looked like Cy Denning was still feeling the effects of that big hit he took a few plays ago. And didn't really throw with any conviction on that one. So it'll be 3rd and goal. Nottingham really do need to put something on the board here, not only for the game, but just to spark their confidence a little as well. Bring you some score updates at the end of this drive. Thanks to those of you who have tweeted in already. If you'd still like to do so, then please get in touch. We will give you a shout out if we can, as Alex C gets last-minute instructions. And we now have trips to the right for Denning. Bash in the backfield on his own, and Denning drops back. He's got some time, and he hits Alex, and Alex is close to the goal line. He's going to be a yard or so short. But Alex is definitely the go-to guy on this drive.
Yeah, this is Tom Henley to main, as Jimmy said. Quarterback sneak all the way.
So 4th and goal from the 2-yard line of the Steelers. Pivotal point in the game for the home team here. But equally, you feel if Sandwell do keep them out, then that will just add fuel to their already massive 18-point fire.
See if they can find something here.
Interestingly, Holmes is back in the backfield on this one.
Looks like Bash is in there as well.
Indeed, and like you say, that sneak isn't coming. Bash drifts in motion to the right, and Holmes is the man, and Holmes is going to be short. I think he is. No signal, and he is short, and that is a fantastic defensive stand by the Steelers' front 7.
Yes, solid defensive front, not phased at all there.
I don't think necessarily the right call and the right personnel to have running that ball. No disrespect to Holmes, but anyway, it is what it is. The score remains 18-0, coming towards half-time here at Harvey Haddon.
The Caesars defence in the best position they've had all day, with the Steelers being in the short shadow of that goal line.
So, score updates for you. In the Prem, the Nighthawks leading the Titans 14-6. Interesting, as the ball is swung out and there's a tackle missed, and the man is away and he's down the sideline on the far side. And he's out at the 30, the 35, and he's stood up at the 35. But just like that, the Steelers are in business once again.
It looked like Charlie Pearson was the receiver on that play that made the first missed tackle. Took it in well, and off he went. That really helps ease the pressure from under that goal line.
There's that first missed tackle once again. So Sandwell already in business. Those scores again once again for you. Say Edinburgh and EKP tied at 7. The Blitz 8 zip ahead of the Aztecs in the Prem South. The Warriors now 13-0 ahead of the Olympians. In the North, Division 1, Lancashire Wolverines ahead 15-6 over the Yorkshire Rams. Glasgow Tigers and Lead Bobcats still tied at 0. Shropshire 27-0 ahead of the Doncaster Mustangs. Out in Shropshire, and Sandwell on the money again. Good defensive play that time from the Caesars front. 2-minute warning called in this one, so we're very close to half-time. You would have thought that to keep this one within the Caesars' grasp, they would have needed to punch that one in, and as we said up here, Jimmy mentioned,
and that's a heartbreaking stop for the Caesars' offense, but for the defense on that Steelers sideline will be over the moon.
So 2nd and 8, Sandwell. Varney again, just assessing his options and play action there, and pops the ball. And he's got a man open once again down the sideline. That's caught, and it's caught out of bounds is the official signal. Yeah, so that one will be coming back.
lofted, but with a little bit too much loft to say he had a man wide open.
But also, this guy just runs straight past his defensive back.
Looked like it was number 96 for the Sandwell Steelers that time.
That's Sam Booth in coverage there for Nottingham. Sam Booth beaten all too easily on that go route.
Josh Lawrence and Callum Davidson on the bottom of your screens. It's a real combination unit of those two, with Tristan Varney throwing.
3rd and 8, and the Steelers will not be taking their foot off their gas anywhere near yet. Varney drops back to pass. He looks to his left-hand side, and he's looking over the top for Lawrence, and Lawrence is out in front. He's at the 10, the 5, and once again Hardwick is the man beaten, this time for the latest Sandwell touchdown, taking the score to 24-0.
Well, that's my prediction out the window. Getting close anyway.
Yeah, you can't really see Sandwell only putting 6 more on in the second half.
No, giving the Caesars the benefit of the doubt, but
look at
Callum
that again.
Davidson, Tristan Varney and Josh Lawrence absolutely tearing up.
And the time there from their own 2-yard line, 3 plays to go basically 90 yards. So 45 yards through the air once again. Varney well over 200 yards in this first half already. Josh Lawrence with that over 100 yards receiving. Looking to go for 2 again, and Davison takes the ball out to the right, and he is stacked up that time.
To say they've moved the ball so well, they're really struggling on those 2-point scores. The Caesars defense really coming together. They've missed out on 8 points with the 4 failed attempts they've had so far.
So Nottingham will get the ball once again before half-time, but with very little time, and obviously crushed from that inability to punch the ball in, and then giving up the whole length of the field in 3 plays. It's unfortunately very similar to the story we had last week.
When you've got an effective offense like the Sandwell Steelers, you have to take those opportunities. As Jimmy up here said, you've given your offensive line 4 plays to try and punch in 2.5 yards worth of running, and for the Sandwell Steelers defense to stuff it like they did, and all credit to them. That was a big effort from their defensive front.
And to my calculations, Varney has gone over 210 yards through the air in this first half. And that one could be on it. Look at that. That's unbelievable. Takes a Steelers bounce into the end zone, and that could have easily rolled the other way and gone out of bounds. But actually goes in for a touchback, and Nottingham get the ball at their 20. See if they can muster anything in these last few seconds of the first half of play here. (24-0). So we'll be taking a break at half-time, obviously, just to get a breather and refresh ourselves. And we will be back for second half action, bring you continued score coverage from around the country. Trying to bring your messages to the airwaves as well, if you want to hit us up on hashtag #NotVersusSam
The old Twitter.
on the old Twitter. And let's see if the offense can spark anything with trips to the left-hand side this time. One man to the right. Alex C in the back, and it is Alex that picks the pass up, and that will be a Nottingham first down.
Does very well that time to take that ball so low. Looks like a timeout may have been called.
You can see that play was all the way. Denning wasn't looking at anybody else apart from. And that ball, Alex does very well to down on his haunches.
Timeout, red!
Yeah, Alex does very well to get down on his haunches there and pick that ball up without his knee hitting the turf that time. Interestingly, it's June the 10th, this encounter today. Last year's encounter was June the 11th, so almost a year to the day that Nottingham overcame the odds and managed to pull out that win against Sandwell. I don't think
anything Anything can happen.
It can, but they weren't in are in today. Last year, it was closer. It was back and forth last year a little bit. And like you say, they lost their starting quarterback, and
anything can happen.
That was a significant development. Nottingham running out 33-29 winners this time last year.
Well, you'd think if Sandwell can put up 24 points in one half, the Caesars, if Team A can put up 24 points in one half, Team B should also be able to put up the same amount of points in the second half.
If Team A and Team B are of equal footing, equal standard, equal experience, I would agree with your sentiment. Unfortunately, we have not necessarily seen that evidence today. So, Denning, for most of the season, unfortunately, as well for the home outfit. Denning faces pressure, and he now takes off, and he's not the most mobile of quarterbacks, but he does manage to make some positive yardage out of that one. And
that edge pressure came flying through.
Big blitz coming off the left-hand side of this.
Not quite sure where that blitzing man came from. If we can pick it up here.
I think it's the man bouncing around.
Yeah, and he was completely missed by the offensive line.
And it is that man again that we mentioned. It's
timeout. So.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Official. Are you still talking to us?
Seconds.
Let's turn that mic off for me, sir. Let me try and get in before then. It was Richard Kilvington who came. Linebacker came round the left-hand side of the Caesars offensive line. Now you'll have to excuse us because it appears the official has failed to turn his on-field mic off, so we'll be hearing.
Well, he has now switched it off. That would have been entertaining. Officials mic'd up.
Our producers turned it off rather than the official, just to
We'd like official mic'd up, please.
Avoid any embarrassment. So, 2nd and 7 for Nottingham. I think there are around about 14 seconds left in the half at the moment, and there's a jump there, and the flag does come out. 3 players. Denning goes down the field, and he's got a man in the... and in and out of the hands. And that's Patterson, the intended receiver, and there was a free play because
it looked like Pete Roden was the man in coverage again, and that was great coverage from him. Gets an arm across again, just enough to knock it out of Charlie Patterson's hands there.
Denning did well that time, realising the free play and going down the field looking for the home run. But unfortunately, great coverage as you've suggested.
The ball was on point as well. It was just a fantastic play to break it up by that defensive back.
So, after the encroachment penalty, it will still be second down, but it'll be second and short instead of third and long. Nottingham wanting to ignite a spark as Andrew Lovett comes into the huddle.
Not a lot of time remaining, and my chicken dinner for half-time getting colder by the minute.
That was poorly timed, though.
I haven't eaten. Right. I was offered. I took it.
The fact that you put Tom Harvey getting last-minute instructions there from quarterback Denning. Again, trips to the right, and the ball's handed off, and that's snuffed out.
It looks like they may just be running down this clock.
And Carl Hustable credited with the tackle for the loss there. And
another big defensive lineman, and he does look like a monster as well. He's got, if you look at those game day pants, Lions written on the side. Another former product, no doubt, of that university program.
So from 2nd and 4, it'll be 3rd and long. It'll be an interesting half-time talk. Any positives to take away for the season at the end of this first half?
Alex C. Yeah, they've stuffed 2 4-point conversions, so you can be happy. That's 8 points that they've not allowed. Alex Cardenas, he's been electric through this second quarter for sure. They haven't given up anything on the inside run game on the defense. From Steelers' perspective, their defense has been effective, their offense has been effective, but no doubt they'll find fault that they want to work on.
Similar as well for Nottingham, they're caught lacking in the secondary a little bit as well. Obviously from that 3rd and 50. It starts all over the park. Varney's had a very clean pocket all afternoon to throw from. Not been under any pressure at all, and his mechanics obviously are very sound. And And he's finding his men who are open in the secondary.
The Steelers are one of those teams that will watch the film. They know who the threats are. They know Andrew Wilkins is the man that's going to put the edge pressure on, and they'll block him out of the game.
And that's Patterson that time for Nottingham, taking the jet sweep round the left side, and unfortunately not really even getting back to the line of scrimmage, and he will be tackled for a slight loss on that one, which will bring up 4th down, but it could well be that is the half, and the official looks to be handing the ball over to the referee? No, not yet. Looks like has there been a timeout call, maybe? That's what it was. Patterson was tackled out of bounds, so it will bring up 4th down, and Callum Davidson is back there once again, threatening deep to receive. And this would be an absolute nail in the coffin if Davidson would be able to instigate anything here. And we know over the last couple of weeks that the Caesars kick coverage has not been the most effective.
They've not allowed anything so far today, and they've looked fairly crisp.
That is very true, and Davidson now leaves the field as it appears that the Caesars offense may be going for it on 4th down.
Maybe there's only a couple seconds left.
Maybe they've been told that this is the final play of the half, and barring an interception or a fumble return, then at 24 points to 0 down, what have you got to lose?
Chuck it long, chuck it up. That's going to be a delay of game penalty, I would suspect.
I think you're quite right.
Or kit violation on Tom Harvey, who was having his chin strap done up.
I'm sure our over-enthusiastic official will let us know before too long.
No, not feeling it.
No, obviously.
Okay. My eardrums could do with the rest anyway.
We've obviously offended him. Nevertheless, it goes from 3rd and 3 a couple of plays ago to 4th and 10 now, as Denning drops back to pass, and there's this little screen, and
one-handed grab, what a beauty.
Goes up again, and unfortunately picks up a yard or two, and that should see out the first half.
Well, you would think so.
Yeah, the ball being raised by the side judge here. And indeed, as we get to half-time, we have the score: the Nottingham Caesars 0 and the Sandwell Steelers 24. What have Nottingham got to do to bounce back and to get themselves into this one at all?
They're just going to make the adjustments that they need to do. Play action, as we mentioned earlier, I think would really be on. The offensive line, they have to find a way to open those running lanes, although Alex Cardenas seems to have found a route through. The passing game, it's been nearly there. But what they really need is for the Steelers' defense to slip up because they've been so effective. They know exactly what the Caesars are going to run, arguably before the Caesars know what they're going to be running. And the Steelers' offense, well, so efficient.
So we expect more of the same from the Steelers in the second half. We hope for a little bit more positivity from the Caesars in the second half. But at the half here in Nottingham, we'll take a break, and we'll be back for second half coverage where the Nottingham Caesars will look to close the gap on the visiting Sandwell Steelers, who currently hold a 24-point advantage. We'll be back with you for second half action shortly. So, welcome back to Harvey Haddon Stadium here at the beginning of the third quarter of action between the Sandwell Steelers and the Nottingham Caesars. You can see, unfortunately, the hometown Caesars are struggling once again, very much as they did last week against the Leicester Falcons. If you're just joining us, I'm Matt Walker, and I'm in the commentary booth with my ever-present colleague George Lees.
You make that sound so bad. Ever present.
Why? That's good, isn't
it's
it?
It's like a bug. Like you just can't shake me off.
To be honest, if you're going to be pedantic again, you're always so picky. This is like some on-screen marriage of people following some soap opera of a relationship.
But people like soap operas.
But this isn't what we are. We're a football sports broadcasting operation. So a little bit more professionalism would be appreciated. Anyway, welcome to second half action here from Nottingham, where the Sandwell Steelers currently lead the Nottingham Caesars by a score of 24-0. Some half times from other places around the country. In the Prem North, a nice tight game between the Nighthawks and the Titans. The Nighthawks currently leading 17-12. EKP taking what would be considered a surprise lead, 13-7 over the Edinburgh Wolves. Half-time, the Warriors pounding the London Olympians 34-0. This is in the Prem South. The London Blitz, we've still only got a first quarter score, so this might not be accurate, but in the first quarter the Blitz were beating the Aztecs 8-0. The NFC 1 North, the Lancashire Wolverines 23-6 ahead of the Yorkshire Rams at half-time. Leeds and Glasgow. Leeds currently 8-6 ahead, and that was a first quarter score, so again, that may well be a little out of date. Still in the second quarter, it says in the NFC 1 South, in this division where our Steelers and Caesars are located, the Shropshire Revolution putting a beat down on the Doncaster Mustangs 41-8. And I say that looks like being before half-time. But anyway, I suppose the positive for Nottingham is that they will receive the ball at the start of the second half to try and ignite a spark. What needs to happen going forwards, George? Well, the first thing that needs to happen is George needs to finish his lunch.
It's been a long day.
As Josh Lawrence once again kicks off, and it's a short kick again, and Alex C. fields the ball at the 35, finds a little seam, the 25, up over the 30, the ball pops out. It may well have been
a fumble. I suspect they'll call him down as grounded before it popped out, though.
It looked like that was the case. Alex gets up to the 35-yard line, so relatively good field position for this first possession of the second half for the Caesars.
You've got to break down your goals. I think for the Caesars here, you've just got to get a first down, and then they've just got to get another first down, and they've just got to keep moving that ball forward. Make it easy goals to accomplish, first down completion, that sort of thing, and just get that offense moving again.
Let's go into Division 2 while we're waiting for the Caesars offense to start. In fact, let's go into the Southern Football Conference Division 1. Solent Thrashers, Sussex Thunder tied 6 apiece at half-time. The Oxford Saints 20 ahead of the Bristol Apache 20-8 ahead. And Ouse Valley Eagles 14-0 winners over the Berkshire Renegades. And we'll bring you a few more scores shortly as Denning and the offence go to work. And Denning drops back, he rushes out. Oh, that's a nice catch by the looks of things.
It looks like they've called it as a catch. It was Danny Johns, the intended receiver.
And Danny Johns went down well, and unfortunately, much of the... Oh, now it's being called incomplete from the far side of the field, but I think he's been hard done to there.
Yeah,
And the line judge comes in from this side. To be fair, this side judge was in a little better position from my perspective.
It's a case of did it hit the ground before he wrapped it up, or did he wrap it up before it hit the ground?
There will be a discussion. I don't know that we've got a replay on that one for us to take a second look. But while the referees are deciding on this one, the SFC 1 East, the Wembley Stallions trailing the Kent Exiles 21-0 at half-time. The London Hornets leading the East Kent Mavericks 19-10 at half-time. Now into the second division, the NFC 2 North, Aberdeen Roughnecks leading the Clyde Valley Blackhawks 17-0. The NFC 2 Central, Chester Romans 50-0 against Morecambe Bay at half-time indeed. A shellacking going on there. The Halton Spartans 21-7 ahead of the Furnace Phantoms in the fourth quarter. It does look like, as we look back onto the field, and you will have spotted this already, that has been deemed a catch. So Denning completes his first pass of the first half, and nice to see them come out passing. That could be a free play as well.
And they have called it as a free play.
And that's Alex. And is that Alex C? No, it's John Holmes back carrying the football. And John Holmes gets close to a first down, but what they will do is probably
accept it and move 5 yards forward and keep it on second down.
I think that will be what they would do, and that's what they should do, definitely. To bring up second down and 1. And a positive start for the Caesars offence. Although it's the Caesars offence that are marching further away from the ball. But let's have a listen to our official. We have been told that the official is trying to make the people in the stands hear the calls.
Encroachment on the defence, 5-yard penalty. Repeat second down.
Indeed, we were correct, and the penalty has been accepted, so it'll be second and a yard.
One thing to say about the Caesars offence is they're very, very good on that hard count, or that snap count, drawing teams offside. Falcons a real culprit of jumping offside against the Caesars offence.
Denning going back, and he doesn't see the underneath linebacker, and that's picked off by the Steelers. Number 52, I think that was.
Like Reeves was the man that picked it off.
Colin Reeves.
That's been a real bane for Denning as well, missing those underneath linebackers.
It isn't the first time, as you mentioned, that he's fallen foul of that this season. Just not seeing any. He looked over to his right, then scanned back to his left and fired that ball in. And Reeves was standing waiting for it. And that's a quick change of possession, and the Steelers will go back to work. Let's just wrap up a few more scores so we can cover the whole of the country. The NFC 2 South, the Lincolnshire Bombers and the Birmingham Bulls, were tied at 6 apiece in the second quarter. We'll bring you some more shortly as Sam will have a man in motion. And the ball is handed off, and that is Jones Cross.
A nice gain there. It looked like 7-8 yards on that play.
Jones Cross effective at the beginning of the first half. We didn't hear much from him as the half went on because that aerial attack was so effective for the Steelers. The SFC 2 West, the Worcestershire Black Knights 35-0 ahead of the Cornish Sharks. Jurassic Coast Raptors handed the Torbay Trojans a 1-0 walkover victory. The SFC 2 South, rather, Swindon Storm trailing the Portsmouth Dreadnoughts 13-0. A couple more to bring you after this as Varney drops back again. He looks down, that's Seaman, he's got Davidson once again, and he's on his feet at the 35. He reverses field to the 30, the 20, my mistake, and he's downed inside the 20 at the 17-yard line, and that connection working once again for another 25-yard pickup.
Again, that absolutely thrown on a line.
And that's what it is, those deep ins, those shallow posts over the middle behind the linebackers, causing all sorts of problems for that Nottingham defence.
Put no pressure on him. He's not an athletic quarterback and just drop everyone into zone.
Another 25-yard completion. Here we go again. Nice quick ball this time.
Wide open actually on that far end.
Out to Mark Parsons, and Mark Parsons still on his feet, gets up near first down yardage before he's brought down by Ashley Matthews and a contingent of Caesars, but not until he picked up 9 yards. Sorry, 96 rather than 86. My mistake. That's Chris Webber Burns, I think, is the handwriting that's written down.
That is your handwriting.
No, it's not.
It's not yours, is it?
Stuart Andrews' handwriting from the GM for the
that explains
Steelers.
a lot.
No, I can generally read my own handwriting. But nevertheless, it's 2nd and 1. 2nd and 1, Sandwell. Threatening once again, as this time there's that thunder lightning type play, and it goes to Davidson, and Davidson goes off right tackle, untouched, straight the way through, and that means Sandwell are edging towards 40 points this afternoon.
Lightning comes first, followed shortly by thunder.
And I've said to you, George, you need to get that back in your junior playbook. It was really effective when I used to run it 10 years ago, and you can see it's being run at adult level equally effectively.
It's because there's no scheme there from that defence to stuff that play up.
Seen it run by a couple of offensive, though, during this season, and whether you've got scheme or not, you know, because you were part of my team when we ran it. It was always very effective. The deception side of things. As Varney looks for the 2 points, and once again, that's incomplete. So another failed 2 points.
Well, this is interesting. If the Caesars defence can hold true for the rest of the game, we're on 30. So 30-0. So Caesars just need to score 17 points now, and all will be dandy.
And all will be dandy because, if you remember at the beginning of the game, if you were with us, George's prediction was 30 points to 17 to the visiting Steelers.
I was being generous to the Caesars, and
I
but
think
we'll
rightly
see.
so.
We'll see.
to say they've literally had one possession and it's taken them 4 plays to score 6 points. I think for you to think they're not going to put anything else on the board is a little optimistic.
Not the point, though. We've got mind readers here. Yeah, we're going to communicate, and they're going to put all their rookies on. It's going to, they're going to move the chains but not score.
Maybe this is why that game for you this morning was not overly successful, because you live in a different dimension and reality to everybody else.
Wow.
Maybe that's what
that's
the
cold.
issue is.
That's
I've got people
cold.
alongside me nodding. So nevertheless, it is 30 points to 0 in favour of the Steelers here, as Lawrence gets set to kick again. He does put his foot through that one, and that's going to sail out of bounds, though, and the Steelers will catch a break here, and there'll be a penalty coming on this, and they will get decent field position for this latest possession.
I'm just going to be quiet and eat my smoky bacon flavoured crisps.
You enjoy your crisps, as unprofessional as you are. Trying to run as professional an outfit as we can here for Tom Howe and Steve Matthews.
It was half time.
And Gary on the camera there, and Alex in the truck, and Jimmy alongside us, and all you're doing is letting us down, just bringing the standards down of this product that we're trying to create.
Farm boy in a city world. Leave me alone.
So, at 18-0 down, we thought it was a long way for the Nottingham outfit to come back. Now 30-0, well, I think we're just maybe
playing for 17 points.
We have illegal kick out of bounds. Opti take the ball from the 30.
So Nottingham starting on the 30-yard line. It's an interesting point for you to consider, and really a discussion point. With all due respect to Simon Denning, when this would see the Caesars go 2-4. Simon Denning again is he's pressured and he flings the ball out to the left, and there's nobody there.
It was a smart decision to chuck that out of bounds. So he was outside the tackle box,
so
and
no
it did cross the line. So
no
he was fine with that.
Yeah. Again, I say Simon Denning is a veteran of the game. He's been around for a long time. At what point do you give Tom Henley, backup quarterback, some reps? Because with all due respect, he's obviously played the junior game with you for a few years. He's with the University of Birmingham Lions
Which
now.
actually then brings up another interesting discussion point in that Tristan Varney is his quarterback coach.
Wow, that's the links to the game, particularly within the Midlands. They're entangled. But I say you don't get any experience, and particularly for Tom, who played 9-on-9 football last year, to get involved in the 11-a-side game. He's the future, really. Tom is at the moment of the Caesars. Would you suggest a quarterback? So at what point do you put him into the game as Denning drops back again, and it's a hopeful ball, and that's it was almost caught, almost intercepted.
Yeah, almost caught by Johns, almost intercepted by the Steelers defence.
So
I think, speaking to Tom, from Tom's perspective, I think he's looking to redshirt this year. I think he wants a year out, game reps here and there, with gradually more time phased in. I think he knows. I mean, I'm not even sure. I think he's just turned 20 in February. He's a young guy.
Yeah.
He knows the game. He's already been involved with the game for 4 seasons with me, a year for Birmingham. You've got Simon. Simon is, when he's consistent, he's a very, very good quarterback. You have to look at it. You have to, I think, at this point, designate that you're probably going to lose, and then decide at what point do you put your backup in, or do you leave your starter out to give your starter more practice?
And obviously Nottingham will be targeting the Doncaster games, particularly to pick up 2 more wins, and therefore, yes, Simon does obviously need to get comfortable and need reps himself.
Yes.
But would you expect to see Tom in the game at all today?
Knowing Coach Warner, and knowing that Coach Warner, much like ourselves up here have just said, are looking, they're looking at who the future is of the club. You've got a lot of junior influence now. Oscar Terry's just transferred in. He's come back. He's moved back up to Mansfield, and he's playing. Tom Harvey down there. Robbie Jones, who's out with an injury currently. Jack Winfield.
Chris Peacock, number 85.
Did he play junior football? I don't recall, but I think you have to look at giving him time. How much time? I don't know.
As Winfield puts the ball downfield, and it's a good, once again, field position change for Nottingham. But we've already seen that we've already seen the Varney to Davidson and Lawrence connection. They can eat up 90 yards in 2 or 3 plays, and we've seen that earlier today.
like I say, you got to just drop everyone into zone, I think. And he's not an athletic quarterback; he can't beat you on the outside. You've just got to make him work harder.
So, Nottingham defence go back to work, see if they can contain this prolific offence on show today. We heard from a few of you in the first half, and it'd be wonderful if you'd like to get in touch with us again during this second half to lend your support to either one of these teams. As Varney hands off, and the half-back that time, and that's Jones Cross once again, and he's stacked up before he gets to the line of scrimmage. No flags on the play. It's a little bit of handbags there afterwards, but nothing major. So yeah, get in touch with us using the hashtag #NotVersusSan on Twitter. We'd love to hear from you. Where are you watching? Are you watching in some sunny climes? Well, if you're watching around the East Midlands, you will be, because it's a beautiful day here in Nottingham. I'm sure it's similar elsewhere in the region. Are you supporting the Steelers, the Caesars? Are you abroad somewhere lapping it up? As Varney once again goes back to the air, he's looking for Lawrence, and Lawrence takes the ball off the DB, and it's Rob Hardwick again, and he's at the 30, the 20, the 10, 5 touchdowns Steelers, and it is an absolute bonanza once again
and
here for the
my
visiting
prediction
team.
out of the water, but Josh Lawrence doing an excellent job taking that ball in under pressure, and to be fair to Hardwick, he manages to get a hand in there, but Josh Lawrence just very, very strong and just brings that in all the way for the score.
I make that must be a 60-yard touchdown again. And Lawrence showing his athleticism, going up and beating, jumping Hardwick there.
Hardwick actually has a hand on that football. Lawrence just great hand strength, just brings it in.
Look at the size of the guy though as well. Another athletic, tall, rangy receiver who just high points that ball, and there's 6 more for the Steelers.
And it's another failed 2-pointer though. That is 12 points that Sandwell have given up now.
Indeed, so it could be a lot more damage on the scoreboard. We could be up to 48-0 at this point, but for those failed conversions. But unfortunately, this Caesars secondary again.
I mean, to be fair
little
to the Caesars defence, although they've not been on much this half either, when the offence isn't moving the football, you are constantly on that field, and in this heat as well, makes it very, very difficult. Arguably, on the other side, when your offence is scoring that fast, your defence is also on.
Absolutely.
And that's when it comes down to fitness and who's been working harder off field. And so far it's been the Steelers.
Midway through the third period here in Nottingham, Varney is already close to 100 yards in this quarter. That'll take him close on 300 yards already. And actually, just calculating that here, I think he has just gone over the 300-yard mark with that latest long touchdown completion. So, the Steelers look to kick off again, and with Lawrence being the recipient of that long touchdown pass, we have Alex Mackenzie Grist, apologies, who will be taking over kicking duties, and it's a line drive that Alex Cardenas picks up, and he gets out of the grip of one tackle and out of the grip of a second, but then he's met.
Yeah, nowhere to go.
By James Jones Cross.
And that's a flag, and it's actually going to be, I think, on Cardenas, who used James Jones Cross to get up.
Frustrations all the way around this Nottingham outfit now, and understandably so. So, I say, get in touch with us on the social media, on Twitter. Use hashtag #NotVersusSan, and we have heard from a number of people. This is the second time, I believe, we've heard from. I don't know if it's AL. What is it? Elfer. Anyway, that Swiss flag on the Steelers sideline. Coach Jay Walker, good to hear Matt Walker no worse for wear after commentating both days this weekend.
Yeah, but that's you, is it?
No, that's Joe from yesterday.
Right.
That's my man Joe. That's the guy who's we're lining up to take over.
Fair enough.
From you.
That's fine, whatever.
Good to know you. Not salty at all.
If you want to do that, I'll just go to auctions on a Sunday.
Face cage. Silver, 15 yards penalty from the end of the run. First down.
Tony Athersmith, great commentary again from the both. Enjoying the game just like yesterday. Scouting any GB players. Well, that's good to know you're on board. And let's just go back to the Joe Walker thing.
Scouting for.
Oh yeah, scouting for any GB players. Well, you may find a few on the dressed in silver. With all due respect.
I like that. Have the Steelers never thought of just training a kick out? Their 2-point record is off. But to be fair,
yeah.
That's they've had 6 attempts.
Fair point.
That's 42 points that they could be up at the moment.
Mikey, the shouting ref is the funniest thing I've seen for a while. We mentioned that in the first half, and he's going to carry on going because he's doing it for the benefit of the crowd. As this time, Charlie Patterson does find some space and gets upfield and gets a first down for Nottingham and the most positive play of the game.
And that's what you've got to do. You've got to make your receivers work.
Unfortunately, we're having a little bit of issue with our scoreboard. We're aware that there's a flag icon on the screen, and for some reason the scoreboard operator is unable to remove it at current. So it is something we're aware of and working on, but there is no flag on the play on that one, but it's just an issue we're having with the technology here. So, first down, Nottingham. But yes, it was good to work with Joe Walker. It's obviously good to work with you, George.
Oh,
always. We've rectified that flag issue there.
No, Joe, he's a nice guy to talk to. He's knowledgeable about the game, and
very much.
It always makes a change from me.
It does. It's a good block picked up there for Denning, and Denning just flies that one out of bounds.
Yeah, absolutely nothing. And as we mentioned earlier, Simon not the most mobile quarterback, and that's going to be a late flag. And I suspect something was said.
Again, just more frustrations. Let's have a listen. Just wait for this to be communicated to us. Yeah, was he outside the tackle box that time? And maybe not. Maybe that's going to be a grounding call.
It did seem to be outside the tackle box, but I wasn't really looking at the quarterback on that play.
Yeah, definitely. The ball did get back to the line of scrimmage, so it's nothing in terms of a penalty on that. Let's have a listen. Caesars have marched backwards, so it would be suggest that it's going against them, but here we go. No, still conferring.
I wonder whether somebody said something after the play.
Okay, we have intentional grounding, red. There's a spot foul, a loss of down.
So that means not only do they lose yardage from where Simon threw the ball from, but they also lose that down, so they do not repeat the down for an intentional grounding call. So it'll be second and long now, second and more than 20. And Simon doesn't see that man in the flats once again, and it's number 88, and that's Austin Young with the interception.
Yeah, really struggling, and actually a little bit slow to get up is Simon.
Unfortunately, we can't see that again, but probably fortunate from Simon's point of view that we can't see that again. But it is just those linebackers that he obviously just outside of his vision, and second time today, at least the fourth time this season that he's been picked off in that manner.
Yeah, just not got that read really on the underneath play.
Here we go, let's play another game. How many plays from here will it take Sandwell to put another 6 on the board?
Oh, Jimmy's gone with 3.
Jimmy's going 3. I'm going 4.
I think 2. Run play here.
And Booth is going 1. So that's Chisholm, and Chisholm is tackled, so the Booth are out the running. Jimmy has said 3. I went 4.
I said 2.
George has gone 2, so George has to score here, and our cameraman alongside me has said 5.
Only because he got the short straw, I think.
That's Gary, yeah, but after that first down pickup, I And I know that's being very negative the way we're approaching this one, but
well, you know, when you've got an effective, here we go.
And actually, we have a new quarterback in the game, and that's the second play. Second play.
Scrap this bet.
I like this.
No, new data. I like Jimmy's rules.
Kit Varney is now in at quarterback.
His younger brother, Kit, has been playing for the Hertfordshire Hurricanes for the last couple of years as well. Different style guy altogether, physically big quarterback as well.
Indeed.
He's well experienced too.
So now then, Jimmy, this is your play, Jimmy. But you're not liking it, and
there's
Chisholm
a flag
gets the play. There is a flag.
So Jimmy's play will not count. So
okay, so we're still
we'll get another attempt.
We're still on 3. Okay.
This is an odd game we're playing, really, isn't it?
It is, but it's bringing a bit of life and getting other people involved.
When are we having a sports betting company on this stuff? Are we allowed?
No, we're not allowed.
Why not?
Because we're not licensed.
Well,
Have encroachment on the defence, 22, 5-yard penalty. Repeat third down.
So it'll still be third down. Jimmy's still in the game. He said 3 attempts. I've said 4, and Gary said 5. Gary's currently smiling. He likes his chances here. But obviously that was before any of us observed that, no offence to Kit Varney, but that Tristan had been removed from the game. And obviously Tristan's probably warmed up. He's got this defence where he wants them. Look, no deep help at all. And Varney now goes across the middle. That's a good break-up that time.
That was Oscar Terry, Kit Varney's teammate at the Hertfordshire Hurricanes.
Indeed.
And former Caesars junior.
So that's Jimmy gone. Only me and Gary left. And it's 4th down. It's 4th and under a yard. So Gary's zooming in there. That's Gary, our cameraman, who's currently providing that shot for you right there. And
it's not actually Gary, though. Nobody really knows how to say his name properly, so he just says, "Call me Gary."
Oh, okay. So, go on. Let's see what Varney can do. There's a blitz coming. Little screen pass set up. And the ball is outside. And I believe that is play number 4. And I am the winner. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's almost like I know a little bit about this game. The visitors extend their lead to 42 points to 0.
You didn't need that win.
Regardless whether I needed it or not, once a winner, always a winner.
I don't know if we can get your head out of the stadium gates now.
Well, I don't care. So interesting. Let's see. Kit Varney's still in there, so they're going for another 2 points, it would appear.
See if Kit can do what Tristan couldn't manage.
I cannot tell you how chuffed I am that I predicted that right.
You can.
Small victory. Might even buy a lottery ticket.
Oh, if you win. I'd be so angry.
If I won, you wouldn't see a penny.
No, I'd be so angry.
Jimmy would. I'd even give George some. George? No, not George. Gary. And it's completed, but there is a flag. Yeah, there is a flag down. In fact, there's 2 flags down. So
the next question is...
see if we can see what happened here. Might have been on the defence, actually. I don't know. But if it was, they would have called... I would have thought the conversion good by now.
So the next question here really is... are Caesar's defence going to give up the first 50 burger of the year?
Do you know, unfortunately, today, I think it's very possible. I think it's very, very possible. They haven't shown any signs, unfortunately, yet of stopping this silver wave. They've been more effective on the ground, but from a secondary point of view, it's just been easy pickings. So it does look like they're going to be attempting to try again, so that means it will be against the Steelers' offense, this particular penalty. I was going to try and give you some hope with your score, your 30-17 prediction.
Full start against Silver, 5-yard penalty. Replay.
And I was going to say, well, maybe if you add the points together, your prediction, that might give you the Steelers points, but I think that would be 47 and they're already on 42.
You tell me I'm always negative, so I was being optimistic that it was going to be a relatively close game.
Okay, I appreciate that. Now, I must say, as the ball is up in the corner of the end zone, it's caught, but is it in? It is signalled a catch.
Kit has done what Tristan couldn't do. got a 2-point.
And again, that's
actually quite difficult because on that replay, it didn't actually look like he'd got in.
No, it didn't. But Kit's just put the ball up there to a spot and asked his receiver to go and get it. And he's done just that. And as a result, our score is now, you see that again, that ball just lofted high into the air. Receiver with a slight height advantage over the defender and very close to the back corner of that line. Not sure about that myself, but obviously the sideline official is in a better position than we are, so we have to go with that. And that takes the score to 44-0 in favour of the visiting Steelers, and I think a 50-point margin is highly likely. Now, obviously, at this stage, what it does mean is with a 35-point margin that we are in running clock and have been for a while.
Interesting to note that Caesars will be lacking on offensive line. Tom Harvey, been told by the physician that he's busted his thumb, possible break, so he's stepping away from the game. That won't help the Caesars offensive line or their offense in general.
Not one little bit. So now you get to the point, will the Caesars score? Will the Sandwell Steelers go over that 50-burger? Can the Caesars get a first down on this drive to spark themselves? We've seen them possibly come into life a little bit, but they just can't be consistent in anything that they're attempting. Last week, obviously, they fell heavily to the Leicester Falcons. And Alex Cardenas is going to field this one again, and he steps around the first man and trucks the second man at the 40-yard line and goes out of bounds at the 42. So once again, good field position for the Caesars offense.
He's certainly a player that never gives up, and when you're going through a situation like the Caesars have been over the last few weeks, that's the kind of guy that you look to. That's the kind of guy that you want on your team to dig deep and show the rest of the team that there's still an opportunity. All right, they're not going to win this. They're not going to win this. But an opportunity to move the football, to get a score, to show the other team that, yes, you can play football.
And that is the end of the third quarter with our score here in Nottingham. The hometown Caesars 0 and the visiting Steelers 44. Another depressing day, unfortunately, for the team nicknamed Burgundy Fire with their new uniforms for 2018. In the Prem North, the Merseyside Nighthawks 31-12 pulling away against the Manchester Titans. Edinburgh Wolves trailing the EK Pirates 7-19. Half-time, the Blitz dominating the Aztecs 31-7. The Warriors dominating the Olympians 48-0 in the Prem South. Lancashire Wolverines 29-14 ahead of the Yorkshire Rams in the NFC 1 North. Leeds and Glasgow still playing out a tight one, although that is a first quarter score. We've got no updates for you yet on that. Shropshire dominating Doncaster 41-8 as Patterson goes in motion and takes the ball on the jet sweep and cuts up into the heart of that Steelers defence and is stopped for a gain of absolutely nothing. The SFC 1 Central, Div 1 but in the south. Solent Thrashers 13-9 ahead of the Sussex Thunder. The Oxford Saints 34-8 ahead of the Bristol Apache. Ouse Valley Eagles full time. We brought you already against the Berkshire Renegades. 14-0 victors. The Eagles in that one. The SFC 1 East, so the South Division 1 East. The Stallions from Wembley trailing the Kent Exiles 21-7. The Hornets, the London Hornets leading the East Kent Mavericks 29-10. Contact the show. Not versus San, that top corner of your screen you can see. Still time, even though we're on a running clock now, to get involved.
NFC 2 Central one looks interesting.
It does. Chester Romans 76-0 against the Morecambe Bay Storm, and I tell you what, number 26, I think that is there. That's Rob Jones, DB for the Steelers. Could have had himself an interception there, but instead was lining himself up for a monster collision with a Caesars receiver and ends up flying through. And that could have gone one or two ways. That could have been a touchdown for Danny Johns had he managed to reel that one in, or it could have easily been a pick six the other way. But as it is, it ended up in neither of them. But yeah, 76-0, Chester Romans over the Morecambe Bay Storm in Division 2. The Halton Spartans beating the Furness Phantoms 41-7 in that same division. Lincolnshire Bombers and the Birmingham Bulls had a tight one, 13-14.
That is really close as well, because the Bulls have been really dominant in that NFC 2 South this year. So for it to be so close in quarter 2 makes for interesting watching.
The Worcester Black Knights in the West in Division 2 in the South, 50-6 ahead of the Cornish Sharks. We already told you the Jurassic Coast Raptors relinquished a walkover to the Torbay Trojans to give the Trojans a victory there. Third down as the players stopped before it's begun. Swindon Storm 16-2 down against the Portsmouth Dreadnoughts in the South in Division 2. And Ipswich Cardinals leading the Maidstone Pumas 42-6. And then scores from yesterday, the game that we covered in Europe. The Tamworth Phoenix victorious for their first ever win in European competition over the visiting Oslo Vikings 47-20. And I know I mentioned this to you already, and I mentioned to a few other people, the other two teams in that division who already beat the Tamworth Phoenix, the Copenhagen Towers and the Karlstad Crusaders. They fought out a battle for that division win yesterday, and the Copenhagen Towers snuck a 44-43 victory.
Karlstad Crusaders, Natal Malero though, local, as we may as well mention him.
Yeah.
He's not local, he's Peterborough born and bred as far as I'm aware, but playing for the Renegades, ran in a 60-yard jet sweep for the Crusaders, so well done to him, although he got the L.
On the
L, but at least you made the score.
As I say, by 1 point. What a game to be part of. That would have been 44-43. I'm not sure, didn't see highlights, I'm not sure whether it was back and forth or one team came back further or how it worked, but Denning drops back to pass and he's got a man over the middle and that man makes the catch that time. And it's
Richard Thomas, is it? As Jimmy shouted
42.
up.
It is the assistant manager for Notts County, Richard Thomas, making his debut with the Caesars today, playing tight end.
Still reminds me of my local farmer friend.
You can see he comes off, a slow release, and big target there over the middle, and it's nice to see them getting him involved, and obviously
that play action working very well for them, just drawing in that underneath linebacker, just to loft it over his head.
Picks up a first down for Nottingham, and if they now have a target like that at tight end, then that's at least another string to the bow for the Caesars that they might be able to exploit and develop in this fourth quarter.
It looks like he's remaining on in this play.
So two receivers to the right, one to the left, Thomas in there at tight end, and this time the ball is handed off and nothing doing for the halfback that time. And I think as much as you want to try and stay balanced, for me I think you've got to try and exploit opportunities with the likes of Thomas and get him some reps and get him comfortable with the ball in his hands. Only signed, I think, a couple of weeks ago. Obviously got himself registered and quickly ready to play this game, but done well to slot in and have his first reception this afternoon.
Yes, very much so.
I don't think you can really appreciate, obviously from up here, you can't really appreciate the bravery, if nothing else, it takes to catch a ball as Denning goes over the top, and that was a decent ball from Denning. And
not sure it looks like Patterson was expecting that ball to come deep. He very much caught off guard.
It looks like, Patterson's claiming he might have been pulled back by his DB, but again,
see if he can get it on the...
Oh, he was bumped, but Patterson wasn't...
I don't think there was anything wrong with that, though.
Wasn't really at full speed.
Just a physical defensive back doing what a good physical defensive back should do.
And as I say, you can't really underestimate how brave you need to be, not only just to catch a ball or run with the ball in this league, and then to catch one with your back to the defenders, knowing that you're going to take some punishment. And it's something you never really get used to. Nevertheless, 3rd and 11 upcoming for Nottingham. Is this going to be another shutout for the hometown team? On the back of their loss last week to the Leicester Falcons, they find themselves in a very similar position. That will be a false start. Things going from bad to worse for this outfit.
Have full stop. 32 red. 5-yard penalty. Repeat down.
And be on the running back that time, Alex Cardenas.
Alex
or Alex C.
Let's give him what we we want to give him. Mark Sutton on Twitter, at Mark Sutton 757. Think I'll go and cut the grass. Gardening this heat will be less painful than watching this. Mind you, I'll still be able to hear the official calls. You're not wrong, Mark. You're not wrong.
That is savage. I hope that was about the game and not us, though.
Of course it was about the game. Oh, and then Denning's gone up top again, and that's like a punt.
And he's dropped the pick.
Tough for Max Penta to get his body to adjust round, and actually he's looking into the sun, and actually he might have done himself a bit of a mischief there as well, going for that one. He was looking back into the sun, and that ball hung up there more like a punt than a pass, the way it came out of Simon's, the trajectory it took, and as he attempts to make that reception, he has, as I say, injured himself. At J Lee Bo 2, Jordan Lee put Tom Henley in the game.
Yeah. Jordan Lee, GB Junior, Caesars Junior. He's really stepped up over the last 18 months, really. He's coming along nicely as a player and a captain for the squad.
Indeed, and it is, as we look down the sideline, Tom Henley is warming up. He's got his helmet on. Most of the game he's been in the pocket of the coaches, the offensive coordinators on the sideline, because, as we said earlier, he's very much a student of the game, and he does take a lot of pride in being near the coaches, learning all the time. But he is now going through the
worst shaped quarterback in the history of football.
Oh.
But he makes it work for him.
He's a good lad, but yes, he's not what if you look at Tristan Varney and call Tristan the prototypical build for a quarterback, as Callum Davidson takes the great ball on the run, and he's surrounded, and that's good punt coverage that time.
Yeah, that was great punt coverage that time from the Caesars.
And at least, if nothing else, if you're looking to take positives from the game,
the special teams unit improvement from last week has to be the biggest one.
And I know you are clutching at straws, or we are clutching at straws looking at that, but
the special teams, it's a third of the game. All right, not in time sense as such, but if you don't get your special teams right, somebody's throwing milk bottles around. It's really quite frustrating.
It's the big lad with the hammer down there.
I don't know if they're milk bottles or beer bottles.
They're milk bottles.
They're milk bottles. Okay. But no, from they've had a massive improvement over the last 7 days with their special teams unit. The defense hasn't stepped up, the offense hasn't stepped up, but the special teams unit certainly has.
Oh, that's good. Good pursuit there, and new running back Phil West with the carry. Good pursuit, to say, from the Caesars defensive front there, and they do take West down for a loss.
Yeah, baby bash there.
You can see it looked like he may well have a little bit of room, but that gap was closed very quickly by Kieran Matthews and the
Andrew
defense.
Wilkins, and making the initial hit, and Matthews coming over the top.
So 2nd and 14 for the Steelers as Kit Varney flips the ball out to Austin Young. Once again, Austin Young picks up a couple, but not much more than that.
Better coverage that time by the Caesars defense, the defensive backs.
I must say, in past years that we've covered the Caesars, both from a broadcasting point of view, but obviously me and you have been around the Caesars for a long time. The offense has traditionally struggled a little bit to get going and find rhythm, but the defense has been a little more stoic than we've seen these last couple of cup outings.
I think it doesn't help. It doesn't help that the, as Jimmy said, the starters are aging, but on top of that, you've got a situation where they're spending so much time on the field, and that was a wonderful sack that time. It looks like that Andrew Wilkins, who really is the powerhouse for the defense, the defensive engine, as it were. They're spending so much time on the field that, there's only so long they can keep running for.
Just going back to that sack, and what I like about this particular play, even though Wilkins comes in as quick as he does, look at Varney. His eyes are downfield all the while. He's still looking to try and see if he can get that ball away, and in the end, makes a good decision to tuck it rather than throw a pick. But nevertheless, he doesn't crumble under that pressure from Wilkins. You can see Wilkins comes flying in, and almost as soon as he's got the ball, and Varney looks, and then thinks better of it and makes a good decision. So, 4th and long for the Steelers. This will give Cardenas an opportunity to get into good field position, or maybe even a little more, and see if we can put that's a high kick, and I don't think Cardenas is going to field that one. That's a good kick, and that's exactly what you'd want it to do. Taking a Sandwell bounce inside the Nottingham 30, and they'll down it on the 28-yard line. So yeah, in a game like this, all you can really do is look to see what positives you can pull out of it if you're a Nottingham Caesar, and special teams will be one. It looks like, the fact they've held the Steelers to only 1 2-point conversion, and now, with only a few minutes left in the game, we do see a switch at quarterback, and I think that's probably wise. Let's see what Tom Henley then and this Nottingham offense can do. I can also see a number of other people in the game who haven't been. I can see Chris Peacock there, number 85. I've seen number 2, Carl Watkinson, veteran Carl Watkinson. He won't mind me saying he's still playing, but he's older than me, and I'm rocking in at 43 years old at the moment, and he's still putting it in there as Henley drops back and he passes and he hits Watkinson, and Watkinson makes the first grab, and that's nice from Henley.
A nice little pick-up to start off his drive. You remember last week, I think he only had a couple throws, but it was a deep interception, but a last-minute section. So
Char Pearson, watch Tom Henley lead a 50-point comeback.
I'd be impressed if he does it with so little time remaining.
And particularly when we're getting penalties like that. A timeout called by the Steelers. But absolutely.
As we said, Tristan Varney is Tom Henley's quarterback coach out in the Lions, so be interesting to see which way Mr. Varney's routing on this drive.
I like that last play from Tom, only because he'd obviously made that read prior to the snap, because that was literally, he saw that Carl knew the route that Carl was running, and obviously knew that he'd just settle down in the little seam there, and made a good quick decision, fired the ball in there, and there you go, there's a 6-yard pickup. Jimmy's put it as a 5-yard pickup. Mr. Nick Mason, it's gutting watching Caesars football knowing I can't play. Stupid shoulder. Hopefully the Caesars can, I assume that says bounce back.
Bonk. It says bonk.
It does say bonk. But anyway, Henley again on the option, and Henley takes it and then drops it. But then recovers it for a first down.
He did that on purpose, Lucky.
And why not? And why not? But I tell you what he did do there. He held the defenders really nicely. I know the ball was out in that one hand like a loaf of bread, but
his ball security is atrocious, and I will have words with him about that.
But he held those defenders, which gave him the opportunity. Now he almost fumbled that snap. And the ball is sent over, and it's picked next time. Didn't handle it properly, and Pete Roden is on his feet. He's at the 20, at the 10, at the 5. Touchdown, Steelers. No flags, and there's the 50 points up for the visitors.
And that DB absolutely baited Henley. And it was a great play there by the defensive back. Intended target looked to be Carl Pearson.
Let's have a look again. Oh, you just catch the back end of that one.
Yeah.
And Roden even takes on the official before running around the entire Caesars offense before he scampers in for that 50-point of the afternoon.
Yeah, it was a great play by the defensive back to get underneath the route, just pick that ball off and take it to the house.
Oh dear.
1 step forward, 2 steps back.
Obviously we are with onside productions, but and we aim to be as impartial as we possibly can as the kick is down and blocked.
And that would explain why...
and the ball is still live.
Caesars might get some points here.
And it's still live. It's bubbling around, and it's eventually dropped on by a Sandwell Steeler.
And that would explain why they haven't been kicking extra points all game.
Austin Young finally dropped on that one for the Steelers. I say, as impartial as we attempt to be, and I do think we do a pretty good job. It is sad when we see a result like this for a team that we've been linked to for so long.
I think it's sad to watch a scoreline from any team like this. It shows the sheer difference in class between teams. And Division 1 has a higher spread, I think, than any other division. But the sheer class. Oh, there we go. Jay Lebo to Tom Henley is the most athletic guard in the league.
He does get some stick, bless him, but
He does.
He's got broad shoulders.
Tyson Fury quarterbacks, as Jimmy's just said.
Yeah, he's got some broad shoulders. I only said shoulders.
It's just quite broad, really.
See if we can update you at all as we come towards the end of this one. 38-20, the Nighthawks over the Titans in the Prem
That
North.
Lincolnshire Bombers one, sorry to drop down. Lincolnshire Bombers leading the Bulls, 19-14 at half-time.
EKP over there, Edinburgh Wolves, 19-14. The Blitz, 31-7 still. That's the latest we've got. That was a half-time score, though, and that one pops up, and this is going to be Hardwick, I think, fielding this one, and Hardwick's got a seam, and he's round the outside, and he's at the 30, he's at the 20. He's still on his feet, he's inside, he's running out of gas now, and he's at the 15, down to the 11-yard line, and a little bit of life, and that'll take Hardwick a while to get up from that one.
Yeah, he is well and truly exhausted, but what a wonderful play by Hardwick. Found the gap, turned on the burners, and made it, well...
The stadium goes wild.
Yeah, inside the Sandwell Steelers 15-yard line.
Finally, the electrician has lit it up. That's the thing. Can now Nottingham punch it? They were on the 2-yard line earlier on in the first half.
Look, he is absolutely.
Let's get a shot there. There we go. Zoom in as much as you can on that one, Gary. And he's now rolled onto his front.
Absolutely blowing, but the electrician sparks it up for the Caesars.
Got the home faithful smiling at least. So can Henley lead a touchdown possession here at the end of this game? Steelers won't want him to. Henley pops the ball out, and that's
looks like it was caught.
Decent reception there, going away. Callum Mitchell there, I think number 84, was the man with the reception.
A little behind him there, but makes the grab.
In the last outing we saw Tom Henley take, he managed to find Jack Winfield in the end zone on a slant pattern for
the good
a score.
news is he's come in and he's thrown a touchdown. All right, it was to Sandwell, but he's thrown a touchdown.
Let's see if he can work anything on 2nd and 7. Henley again, he looks over the top. He's got a man in the back corner of the end zone, and in and out of the hands.
And it looked like he had a yard on him, and it looks like it might have been...
It was the assistant manager from Notts County. And he did have a yard, and it wasn't a bad ball, and just got a bit...
Yeah, just out of position there.
But anyway, 3rd and 7, you know they're going to go for
it was
fourth
absolutely
down.
the right read that time, and well lofted from Henley. It just couldn't bring it in.
So 3rd and 7 for Henley and the Caesars offense as the kicking tee is finally removed from the field. Let's have a listen to the official. No. Timeout called, I think, by Nottingham. As we wind down this one, we always like to give credit where credit is due, and thank you, first of all, for tuning in. Hope you're enjoying this stream as much as possible, and particularly now as the Caesars hopefully we look to get something on the board. As Hanley drops a long way back again, he's come over to this side, and that's going to be out of bounds.
Yeah, but arguably a safer play to make with that Caesars, that Steelers DB Sam Busher right on top of Alex C.
And it looks like to try and take that 0 off the board, Nottingham are going to attempt a field goal on 4th down.
I can't see the point in kicking 3 here. I would very much go for it.
I would be the same. Winfield back on the field there for kicking duty. We know Winfield does have a very powerful leg, and he's hit 40-plus yard field goals this season already, so this for him should be a chip shot if the snap and the hold is okay. And I suppose 3 points on the board is better than no points. The snap is down, the kick is up, and it is not going to... Well, it is going to count.
And the crowd has gone wild.
3 points for the Caesars. And Winfield again the provider. As he walks off a little gingerly, I'm not sure why.
His arm, I think, is causing him quite a lot of grief.
So the score will not end up endless. It will be 50 points to 3.
Not quite sure if the... Looks like the game was the chain crews disappearing.
It is. That is indeed the game. And on the final play of the game, something for Nottingham to smile about. The Sandwell Steelers, though, with an absolute dominant performance here from a 50-point to 3 victory. That puts them at 4-1 on the season, 1 game behind the Falcons. It drops the Caesars to 2-4. We'll leave you for a few minutes, then we'll be back with our post-game show after this. Take care, mate. I'll see you soon.
Tom.
So, 50 points to 3, George. I think that's the entirely correct response.
Well, you made a statement, not a question.
Yeah, I just wondered if you replied to the statement, but 50 points to 3. Unfortunately, Nottingham on the wrong end of another blowout defeat, 2 games back-to-back.
Yep.
Where do they go from here?
You would hope up. They've got, I think, Doncaster coming up next, so Doncaster no doubt will be a game that they've targeted at the start of the season to win. They're more than capable of doing that, looking at what the Doncaster Mustangs have also done this year. But for Sandwell, the only real threat to them is the Falcons. So should I say the real threat to the Falcons is the Steelers.
And do you think that the Steelers are a creditable threat to them first time out?
First time out it was 25-12.
It was only a 13-point deficit.
Yeah, so I absolutely do think they're a credible threat. We know they're capable of winning. We know they can move the ball. Tristan Varney is now, 4 or 5 games in, back playing contact football. He'll be getting more and more comfortable as they go. I think they really are a threat.
Where did it go wrong this afternoon for Nottingham? Because, I mean, to be fair, to begin with, there felt like there was a little more energy than there was last week. There was a bit more belief, I think, at the start of the game. Where did it go wrong?
How long have you got?
We've been told about 4 minutes.
Is the truth of it. Offense couldn't. They moved the ball better than they did last week, not by much. And you've got a good set of defensive players, as we mentioned, probably getting older. And as you get older, you lose your physicality, and you've got to play to your skill set. But if you're on the field all the time, you're going to burn out.
Absolutely.
And it's hot out there. It's 20 20 odd degrees out there.
Sure.
It's
We mentioned in commentary, and it's something that I'm very aware of. Yesterday out in Tamworth have a stable of 5-6 running backs, and every series a new back comes on for that series, which obviously keeps their backs fresh, but also brings a different challenge. Unfortunately, we saw today Alex Cardenas did suit up and play some halfback and brought a spark, but for all intents and purposes, Nottingham just have John Holmes listed as a halfback today, and as hard as John Holmes works, it's difficult for him to carry the load.
Yeah, it is, but you say that, and the Steelers today ran, 2 running backs as well, so I don't think you can use that as an excuse. Clearly something's going wrong somewhere. Your offense needs to move the ball. You've not got a strong running game. Your offensive line is much more suited to pass protection. They do give Simon Denning and the other quarterbacks a lot of time in pass protection. Use that. Get your quarterbacks the time they need to throw, and just go for the little dump-offs and make your receivers do the work.
Can you see in the last few games that we've been privy to here, we mentioned in commentary that special teams was an improvement today.
Yep.
Can you see improvements being made on offence and defence? Is it evident from what we see on that finished project?
And I'm being brutal.
Yeah.
It's hard to show improvement against two tough sides anyway, and particularly when you've only got a Wednesday practice in between those 2 games.
Sure, that's true.
So that makes it difficult, but your special teams improved big time, and no doubt they spent a lot of time on Wednesday night working special teams, but your offence and defence have shown little to no improvement from game to game.
Sure.
But like I say, it makes Wednesday. You've got 1 training session.
Absolutely. Well, next game up, as you mentioned, is in a fortnight's time on the 24th of June here at Harvey Haddon, where the Doncaster Mustangs will visit, and obviously between now and then there's a couple of Wednesdays practice, there's a Sunday practice, so all being well, Nottingham will be able to bounce back and put on a bit of a better show. Shropshire, I think, are in the process, if not already, of demolishing Doncaster again today. So there'll be 2 teams that are coming, 2 very flat teams, but 2 teams that will be coming thinking this is our chance to win.
Yes, and both teams will be looking to get wins. It'll be interesting if the bottom sort of 3 teams get 2 wins each as to what happens with the relegation battle.
Sure.
But to save themselves, to get what they need to stay up, Caesars have to get one of these 2 Doncaster games.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a very busy weekend for us here at Onside Productions. You'll be aware that we were out in Tamworth yesterday and bringing you the Tamworth Phoenix European game against the Oslo Vikings. We've obviously brought you this one this afternoon, which unfortunately, although we thought it was going to be competitive, has turned out to be a blowout victory for the visiting Sandwell Steelers. Just like to thank Tom Howe, Alex, Gary and the crew, and George, as ever, for his company this afternoon.
Thank you.
Glad to know you're feeling a little better.
A little.
We will see you in a fortnight's time for that Doncaster game here at Harvey Haddon. But until that point, it's a good night from all of us here at Onside.